What is up, everybody? Welcome to the feast. Why is the game not captured? Oh, that was a good start. We're off to a good start here. There we go. How's it going, everybody? Super late feast tonight. Obviously, as many of you know, Day 9 was streaming Tooth and Tail today. So I tried to hang out in his chat and be knowledgeable where I could, and resist the urge to backseat as much as I could as well. I lined up a lot of replays. I don't think I'll get to all of them, unfortunately. The new patch just did hit today. Hashtag Toad Road. So what we're doing is looking at some of the old patch replays. I have a big backlog that I want to try to get through. At least some of them. Maybe if I've got some spunk over the weekend, I'll do a little bit of extra casting. So yeah, and of course, the preseason cup hosted by Mochaccino is underway. So if you are part of that, try to get your matches scheduled as soon as possible. That really helps out as far as organizing with all the different casters and stuff to get everybody some spotlight, get some games casted. And yeah, without any further ado, might do like an hour and a half tonight. We'll see how I feel. Yeah, let's hop right into it. Match number 1 here. Okay, spawning in the bottom left, we have Daffy. And over on top right, Mr. Ziggy. Daffy, a.k.a. Raton. Typically an aggressive player, and we see snakes from both sides here. Ziggy, however, with no squirrels or lizards, just going for toads. So that could make for a pretty interesting match. Ziggy also has decent access to some expansions here. You know, Daffy's got a nice little natural on the backside. Can't really complain about that, but after that, getting to the third base might be a little difficult. I mean, he can try to make his way over on this side, but some of these walls right here are a bit odd. We do have a mole rush coming up, and I don't think Ziggy scouted it, but he did scout the main base and realize that there wasn't additional farms being built, so there had to be some sort of shenanigans going on. Daffy sells that mole warren off, gets back home, so really no harm, no foul, but the really wonky thing this match is the lack of squirrels or lizards from Mr. Ziggy. He just has the toads here, and that is going to be kind of weird, especially if Daffy, you know, really rails down on the squirrels in the early game and goes for a lot of aggression. Now, if you give Mr. Ziggy enough time, maybe he can build up a decent amount of chameleons and kind of use those on the front line. I wonder if this is a random deck from Ziggy. I mean, I don't know. Most of it looks pretty okay, besides the fact that it's Toad Pigeon. So we just kind of have to see where this game goes from here. Lots of squirrels so far from Daffy. I do want to try to cover a lot tonight, so I might be fast-forwarding just a little bit through the lulls. Ziggy's going into some early cams. No expansions yet for either side. Yeah, we just have to kind of wait at the moment. And yeah, this is what I anticipated. I'd imagine Ziggy would probably go up to like 4 or even 6 cams, but this is the issue here. Daffy's moving in, and there's no real bread and butter defense to stop this aggression. I mean, these toads might get some decent connections. Keep in mind, this is the old patch, so this is not Toad Roads. Here comes a cam to clean things up, though, and the pigeons are here, but one farm has already fallen, and that's actually quite a big deal, especially without economic openers. And that farm is retaken by Mr. Ziggy. But for the time being, I don't know. I still kind of like this better for Daffy. Daffy is starting to overextend, though. Just begins to pull back now. And is just sticking on Mass Squirrel. And now Ziggy's kind of got a little bit of the composition he was looking for. This one Hero Squirrel in the back, really annoying these pigeons. But is 2 chameleons enough, especially with these delayed pigeons from this one squirrel in the back? That's actually kind of hilarious. Ziggy probably didn't even realize that. He figured those pigeons were there on the front lines to help him with that attack. But that was not the case. Daffy moving in with a big counter push here, and Daffy's even got the snakes, which can make these chameleons even worse in a lot of cases. Pigs are beginning to fall from Ziggy here, but the chameleons are able to clean things up. And I think maybe just with some continued aggression, like, You know, we're getting close to that 5-minute mark. And again, losing pigs on the main base when you don't have a second base is really, really rough. So Daffy's just going to wait, try to re-rally some units, and just keep coming in here and pressuring. And I like this a lot, just trying to knock out the pigs. He knows that's kind of the path to victory here. Just whittle them down, bit by bit. And this might be the killing blow unless these cams do amazing here. But it's really difficult to get the engagements you want with these chameleons when the opponent has snakes, even with the pigeons here. And that is it. A nice little aggressive game, kind of showing why pigeons and or lizards are very, very important. All right, let's keep it going. Game number 2. Spawning on the left-hand side, we've got Big Pimpintosh and his opponent to the south, James. All right, pretty similar comps. Well, I guess 3 units overlap. I love this style from James, especially with the new toads. Like, this might be a viable composition to try to combat some of that owl snake we've been seeing in the late game. You know, get the boar up for timing, and I think things like defense can really make it difficult. You know, the opponent throws down some turrets and that sort of thing. Can make you a little bit on edge about actually pushing in. But you can always do like a 2-base, half-saturation boar timing, or build just a lot of toads to try to push through the defensive structures protecting that eventual late-game composition. But both these decks are pretty standard in my opinion. You know, I like Tosh's build is just kind of your bread and butter badger composition. You know, sometimes we see various different tier 1 in that toad slot. But I think toads are perfectly acceptable, especially with lizards being pretty meta, even in this previous patch. So yeah, this should be a good one. This is definitely a one for the notepad, as James and Tosh are both very high-ranked players. And let's take a look. James trying to get some quick chameleons up and running. I think James's MO is like he likes to get out like a relatively, not necessarily a fast expansion, but a decently timed expansion. Get like a single balloon to deter any kind of attack, and use that to leverage getting into a board later on. All right, Tosh looking to maybe turn up the heat a little bit on the back of scouting that single tier 1 into the tier 2. However, James might just have enough, especially with Tosh kind of hesitating right there. Now the chameleon's out. Chameleon's going to do great in small numbers like this, and Tosh is just going to have to pull back. So a nice defense there from James. Tosh is going to have to lick his wounds for a minute and maybe consider getting into his own tier 2 or perhaps an expansion. And I anticipate we'll see some expansions coming up relatively shortly. If you're not going to expand, maybe you go into double tier 2. Yeah, there's the expansion from Tosh. And trying to get up the Falcons. Now the Falcons on paper seem pretty good against the cams. But, I mean, it used to be true. We used to see it all the time, like, back in the day. But generally, the cams would actually win because the cams would do such a good job of clearing up the supporting units of the Falcons and kind of leave the Falcons exposed to your leftover lizards, or tier 1 in general. Nice little push there from James, backs out at a nice time, picks up a Warren or 2, and keeps one of the chameleons alive. And James wants to saturate that second base, but he's a little bit worried because Tosh has not shown an expansion yet. So investing additional resources into farms right now is pretty risky. Maybe you can get away with like 1 or 2 farms, you know, maybe 1. But now with that, he's got this balloon here. I like this Warren positioning too, kind of tanking for that front position. You know, now James can feel more comfortable about beginning to put down some farms, especially that he sees that Tosh is going for an expansion. But the real story here is Tosh is going for a Badger, and James has not yet scouted it. James looking for a push, He doesn't know about the Badger, I don't think. No, not yet. He might see it. No, he's just going to pull back. Good defense from Tosh there, especially with the money invested into the Badger. And James just going to skyrocket up in eco. So what does James have that can really deal with this? He can build some Falcons if he gets the Scout. And okay, that time around he did get the Scout on the Badger Warren. So he knows it's coming. And just kind of thinking maybe I don't have enough time for Falcons. I'll just build up some balloons. He knows he's got the better economy for now. But Tosh is definitely good at controlling that Badger. And let's see, this choke actually is in such a fashion where it's not really worth it for Tosh to go all the way around. It would simply just take too long. So if Tosh does decide to push out with the Badger timing here, he's going to be having to do so right into these two balloons. And he can target fire with balloons. So I'm curious if that'll be James's micro focus in this fight, is try to get that Badger targeted down with the balloons, let the other units kind of fight whatever they fight. And Tosh is trying to bait this engagement to happen outside of the balloons. He needs to be careful. That commander is getting quite low and the commander goes down. That might just be game, to be honest. Let's see. Oh my god, the Badger is actually doing okay with all the pigeons there, with all the supporting units. It doesn't die. It looked for a second as if it might. He kind of rushed forward there. But Tosh came back in time to bring that unit back with some decent micro. Now keep in mind, James still does have the better economy, but that first attack was very good for Tosh, and Badgers typically can generate a lot of tempo. You know, you win that first attack hard enough, it doesn't really matter if your opponent's got the better economy. There's this tipping point where, you know, the damage is just too much, and I think we've reached that position. Tosh is going to take it from there. James taps out. What's up, Tiki? That was the second game. Might see if I can get through Standard 12 tonight. I am a little bit tired. I was hanging out Day 9 stream. Really cool that he gave Tooth and Tail a lot of exposure tonight. Maybe we'll see some more people joining the community. If you are from Day 9 or checking out this VOD or something, welcome. And yeah, we'll keep it going. Match number 3 here. We've got Kipo versus Ploop. Now, Ploop is somebody else, isn't he? I think that's a pseudonym. But anyways, up top we've got Kipo, a really strong player, and down in the bottom, Ploop. Ploob. Keep wanting to say Ploop, like P-boop. But it's Ploob. Yeah, I think it's Haru. That's what I was gonna say. I should have said it, because now I seem like a cop-out. Yeah, I knew it was Haru. Yeah, I thought it was Haru. And Haru's really, really good. He's been very consistent for a long time. And I think one of Haru's main strengths is just really knowing timing attacks. Like, he's definitely one of those guys that will pull the trigger on a mole rush if you are just slightly too greedy in the early game. Meanwhile, Kipo is relatively newer to the scene, I think, but is a very strong player. Is definitely championing. Dude, I can't talk anymore. I'm sorry, guys. This Owl Snake comp, which, you know, once it gets rolling, is very powerful in the late game. I think Haru rather has a good composition to try to get in before the Owl Snake gets a little bit out of control. You know, stuff like moles can really help push in against defensive positions. You know, a lot of times the Owl Snake players, I think like how they like to do it is they'll get up to 2 bases, you know, not overly rely on defense, but try to leverage the turrets to help bridge the gap in between where there's a vulnerable point, right? Where it's like, okay, you know, now I'm a little bit risky because I'm getting into a lot of tier 2 and a couple tier 3. I could get attacked, but you build those couple turrets that really helps fortify your position. And moles can help get through that sort of thing. Kipo moving out with some lizard aggression. And there is a backdoor entrance into Haru's main here. Ooh, and Haru's not in the right spot. This will definitely be one dead pig, but the question is Haru going to kill enough lizards where a strong counterattack is viable? Let's see, a lot of lizards went down right there. And yeah, Haru lost the farm, but he's already got that second base up and running, so he doesn't have to like retake this farm that's already a bit mined out. He can just put that 60 food into a nice fresh farm and continue on. And Kipo actually has a relatively okay amount of lizards here to defend. I think Haru hesitated a little bit on that counterattack. It wasn't like exactly after. So overall, I guess that was a relatively even trade, you know. The pig going down is really, really nice, especially when you think about things like, well, if Haru never takes this again, you can kind of consider that additional food that's left over on that base as extra damage. And Kipo is doing a good transition. He's getting into some skunks. Skunks aren't exactly the thing you want against lizards, but they can work, especially when you get up to like 4 of them, where they're just tanking so much damage that they're really, really contributing to the fight in that way. You know, a lot of the lizards are attacking that skunk instead of the other lizards, or they're tanking a lot. Yeah, that skunk gas does help. And truth be told, once you get up to like 4 skunks, man, you know, I know we like to say lizards are mainly not so great against skunks, but once you get up to 4 of them, I kind of feel like you're spreading out enough gas to where it actually does work fairly nicely against lizard. Because the reason we like to say lizards are good against skunks is that they move around so fast they don't take that full gas damage like something like a squirrel would. And here are some moles coming out from Haru. So maybe he's thinking about turning on the aggression. Maybe he's just trying to round out the composition. No, he is selling some tier 1 here, so he's going to try to transition out. And this is interesting. I mean, it's easy on paper to say Kipo's got the better late game. And I suppose that he does, right? Because he's basically got all the same tier 2 that Haru does, plus the owls. But at the same time, you know, stacking up a lot of tier 2, getting into a lot of falcons, a lot of skunks, can definitely go toe-to-toe with this style a little bit. And the lizards can be nice too, as long as you micro them very well against the owl snake. Like, if you can kind of hold them back, let the moles and skunks deal with the mice, and then utilize the lizards to try to take out the snakes. It's a little bit magical Christmas land for me, but I think it is possible. And this is the phase of the game where I think the moles would really be helpful. Like, I think a push right now would be very strong. You know, this is where Kipo is a little bit exposed with this style, right? Trying to get into the tier 3, trying to get into the snakes at the third base. And he's hoping that these turrets will make his opponent say, all right, man, I'm not going to attack you for a minute, but there's so many moles here from Haru, maybe he can actually push through. And even if one owl does get up and running, you know, one owl is not what makes this strategy so strong. It's when you get up to like 3 or 4 owls that it really gets crazy. Nice control by Kipo here, trying to run around, trying to get to the lizards, but this push from Haru, very, very well timed. But Kipo is starting to clean this up. He's got so many lizards on the ground, they actually chewed through the falcons in the air. And Kipo's still in good shape. You know, that third base was nice. You know, it's like, yeah, you get the third base up and running, it's great for the economy, but he doesn't need it, right? He only needs the 2 bases. So Haru did get some damage done there, but he didn't get like crippling damage done. You know, if he was if he got like most of the farms off that second base or something like that, I would consider it much more successful attack. But there's also a big loss in momentum for Haru as well once you have to sell all those additional mole warrens that you built to make that push happen. And now this is starting to look pretty nice for Kipo here. He needs to get out of here, though. It's kind of overstaying his welcome. And I love the concept of the moles against the snakes. Mochaccino was talking to me about that the other day, which is a little bit counterintuitive. You know, you wouldn't think that they would be good against snakes, but they do a nice job of, like, tanking snake stacks. One of you guys who pays more attention to stats than I do, I am a little bit bad about that. I mean, does one snake stat kill a mole? It might, actually. I think it does. Or maybe I'm thinking about a fox hit. Haru's not out. That was a nice engagement. Kipo's got that third base up and running, though. And he's starting to piece together Yeah, no, it doesn't. Yeah, that's what I thought. I wasn't 100% though. And I love the lizards with this composition too, man. Lizards are just in a very, very strong place right now. But maybe with the Toad Road patch that we are on now, with Toads being more meta, we will see more and more lizard counters, I suppose. You know, I'm not sure how much that'll affect, you know, the lizard strategies. We might not see these very greedy deck compositions where they only rely on lizards in the tier 1 spot. Maybe we'll see, you know, people say, alright, I'm still going to use lizards, but I gotta respect the toads, and I gotta have the squirrels there as well. And this is just going fantastic for Kipo here. The second base from Haru is in shambles. The third base was denied. And Kipo is just... And Kipo is just getting ready to deliver the killing blow. And there it is. Nicely done there. What is up, I'm sorry guys, I'm a little bit tired. I normally start streaming earlier, but since Day 9 was doing Tooth and Tail tonight, I wanted to hang out in his chat and kind of talk about the game a little bit. So welcome all the new people. Thanks for the follows, guys and gals. I typically do replay casting every Friday night on this channel, as well as try my best to cover the various events that are going on in the scene. And this next replay should be a banger here. Meek and Solomon, both very strong players. Let's have a look. Spawning in the bottom rather, we have Meek, and in the top left, Solomon. How many people made this game? So Pocketwatch's development team was about 5 to 10 people. It was mainly Andy Schatz. I am not the developer. I am a nerd who uses his names, but I am friends with Andy Schatz and the guys over at Pocketwatch Games. And they're cool. That I've done a lot of promotion for them and that sort of thing. Mole Rush coming out here from Meek, and Solomon respecting this in the early game. Really cool deck coming out from Solomon. Barbed Wire Balloon, Owl Fox. I like Owl Fox because, I mean, we like to say there's a little, rock paper scissors is a strong term. You know, I don't like to use it too much. I like this barbed wire response to just Solomon like, no man, you're not gonna slow down my economy that much. But Meek doesn't care. He tries to come in and takes not so favorable of a trade, trading a mole for some wire here. But Solomon does eventually have to sell that farm off. Does rebuild it though and gets that full refund. Yeah, Solomon, this is very old. Yeah, man. Dude, my backlog is huge. I have a lot of replay submissions. So the new patch just hit, so I'm trying to go a little bit overtime here and get through a lot of the replays before they get too stale. But the new patch, honestly, like if you're someone tuning in maybe for the first time, like the new patch is pretty comparable to what we're seeing here. There were some changes, you know, especially with the toads, but I anticipate a lot of the overall meta concepts that you see going on here are very, very similar to live. So a little bit of early game tradery there. And Meek looking to get into an expansion, perhaps. Now, both players have these balloons and want to utilize the spoke style. Solomon, yes, with the hidden owl. One base owl, let's go. All right, let's see. I don't think Meek is going to scout that, to be honest. It's so well placed, you know. Very, very good job hiding that. Typically, you want to hide tier 3 buildings, because once your opponent scouts that you're going tier 3, they have a lot of various ways they can decide to respond to it. So the best thing you can do is just straight up blindside your opponent with a tier 3. And Owl isn't the most impactful one to blindside your opponent with, right? Because a lot of times in the early game, you're getting things like skunks anyways, which can kind of hold off and do okay against like one owl's worth of mice. A lot of times the tier 3 that's super impactful for like a surprise engagement, surprise push, or the fox or boar or badger. But this is definitely really good for Solomon here, and it's smart decision making as well because this map is so large and wonky. You can feel pretty safe in Solomon's position doing something like rushing a tier 3, but Meek's natural response to this is already kind of decent, even though he didn't scout the tier 3. Meek is going for kind of a different approach here, where he's saying, hey, this map is so big and wonky, it's going to be hard for you to attack me, therefore I can get away with being a lot more greedy on my economy than I normally can. And Solomon's kind of taking it in the exact opposite direction, where he's saying, okay, this is a weird map, it's hard to attack me, so I can be greedy with my tech. But the second base is getting up and running at a reasonable rate here for Solomon. And unfortunately, this is kind of what happens when you run like the ferret and balloon style that Meek is sometimes. You know, the ferret and balloon style really wants a position where you can abuse the terrain. If you guys are coming from Day 9 stream, you might remember that one match where that artillery cannon was just like shelling his expansions. You know, very, very oppressive. Like, that's the kind of thing you're hoping for with the map gen when you take defensive structures. Most of the time, we don't actually use defensive structures defensively. We kind of use them offensively. Of course, there are exceptions to that. You know, sometimes you will turtle up and try to get like an ultra death ball. But here comes Solomon with this attack, and Meek has a lot of tier 1, which is not really what you want against owls, because the mice will trade with your tier 1 fairly effectively, and the mice are free, right? So Solomon is going to back out there. Meek taking some hits, but not too bad. And I'm a little bit worried about Meek's late game, but maybe I'm overthinking it, right? Like, he does have 6 skunks up and running, and there aren't any pigeons here. Pigeons can really help. Like, once you get a bunch of skunks and pigeons, you can start, like, negating the mice damage, right? But with 6 skunks, I mean, that is pretty good. Like, take a look at this. You know, these mice will get a couple of kills because Meek is still on 16 squirrels, but nothing crazy. And you know what? Meek actually might have enough tier 2 here to push through. It looks like Solomon is getting a bit worried, is starting to build some emergency barbed wire to defend this position. Meek's going to pull back for now, but Meek does have the moles, and the moles deal quite nicely with the barbed wire. Instead, Meek is just going to go up to more and more snakes. The snakes are good against basically most tier 2 and most tier 3 because they basically do high DPS to single target opponents, right? Like the poison stacks will stack up, right? You'll get 5 or 6 stacks of poison. That'll basically kill anything. So here comes Meek, and he's coming through this water too, which is a little bit nice, you know, for the healing. That's only going to kick in outside of combat, though. And Meek is just slamming through this position. Solomon does not have enough. He was really hoping that the attack would come from the other side where all of his barbed wire is, and Meek is starting to run away with this game. He's trying to target down the Warrens. Targeting Warrens in Tooth and Tail is actually really, really important. It's a little bit counterintuitive when we think of traditional RTS games like StarCraft, right? You don't attack the enemy's gateways. You go for their workers. And of course, picking up pigs here is nice, but the big game-winning move a lot of times in Tooth and Tail is actually getting rid of your opponent's Warrens, especially their tier 1 Warrens, because they don't have a whole lot of HP, and you'll just start snowballing, right? Like, once they can't reproduce reinforcements, you know, your push is just going to get stronger and stronger, and they'll eventually have to tap. And Solomon is doing a good job holding here so far. He's got the double owls, which might clean this up, but he's taken some very critical damage. Going to lose the rest of these Warrens here. Yeah, he's only got 1 Warren left. And this looks like it might be GG for Meek. Can you only death blow, or can you split your forces? You can split your forces, so each unit type, you can micro them individually. So you have like one button that rallies your entire army, and then you can kind of toggle in between your various unit sets and micro them with the other button. So this looks like a Meek victory, but Solomon is quite a resilient player, and yeah, he took a lot of damage there. But throughout the chaos, he was able to get up this third base. He was able to get some farms reestablished. He's hoping that this barbed wire and owl composition will buffer Meek's attack, because Solomon did a very greedy thing. I mean, he had to, so calling it greedy is probably incorrect, right? Like, he had to reestablish his economy. You know, so after that big attack where he lost almost everything, he was basically forced into building some more farms, or else he would just lose in a few minutes, you know. But this position for Solomon is not too shabby. Meek taking his time with this, getting up a third base of his own. I do want to fast forward a little bit, because I want to try to get through a lot of different games tonight and try to answer questions for any interested Tooth and Tail people in the chat. I assume we might have some new people here from day 9's stream of Tooth and Tail tonight, which was super awesome. I'm actually impressed. I think he did really good. He started off playing very, very greedy. You know, and it was kind of fascinating to watch that. Like, his first reaction was to go up to like 2 or 3 base full saturation, and then he slowly started realizing, okay, this is too greedy, this is too greedy, let me tone it down. And I think by the end of the night, he was actually starting to settle on some really solid build orders and openings. So that was pretty cool to watch. You know, a skilled RTS guy like kind of pick it up from zero and start learning some of the fundamentals. Okay, Solomon has stabilized on one base. Meek does have a much superior economy at this point, and it's going to be difficult for Solomon to take any more bases on this map. Solomon is trying to get into that Fox. The Fox is actually a really cool call. The only thing that Meek has in his army that can really deal with the Fox are the balloons, but you know, balloons are very expensive. You can't build balloons everywhere. I'm sure once Meek takes a couple pop shots from the Fox, he'll probably try to get a balloon down. But Solomon continuing to just go ham with this barbed wire. I'm a little bit surprised Meek hasn't been a bit more aggressive. I think maybe the right play after Meek came in here earlier and got a lot of damage done would have been to build a bunch of moles and try to bust through. But instead, he's taking his time. He realizes it's going to be hard for Solomon to expand again. So he's just kind of waiting around. I think he just needs to spam some moles. He's actually getting some balloons. Meek is trying to play this for the late game here. And yeah, this is... Even with all these skunks here... Oh, the Fox is out. That's where the extra damage is coming from. That's actually really, really nice, because the Fox does a great job of dealing with these Tier 2 units, and the Tier 2 units are what you're trying to do with the Owls. It's very, very similar in strategy to the Owl Snake composition, because the Snake is also a tool that can deal with Tier 2. Oh, needs to be careful with that Fox. Those balloons almost knocked it down. And these mice are starting to get some serious value here. Is Solomon actually going to come back and win this from the point of no return? That would be nuts, man. To be honest, if I was Solomon after this big attack, I probably would have just tapped out. Been like, whatever, man. Let's get in the next game. Meek does have a much better economy, but he's being very, very cost inefficient compared to what Solomon is doing here. You know, all these mice. Now that you've got 3 owls out, I mean, the value from the mice is just insane. You know, come in, spend all the mice, wait a little while, come back out. I think what Meek really would prefer to have here is maybe some ferrets, or I'm sorry, falcons. And this is where that ferret balloon style can be kind of a map RNG gamble. And yeah, Meek has conceded that he's not going to win this fight, and is instead going to try to go for a base race. However, Solomon does sniff this out, is already on his way back home to defend. Oh my god, though, but with the snake stacks, I think Meek is... Okay, never mind, there's this campfire too. Oh my god, I was getting hyped there for a second. Yeah, I think that's it, man. That was a really nice try from Meek. Did he know about the campfire? Yeah, he did, but... Like, if Solomon didn't have the campfire, that would have been it. Now Solomon's economy is completely shattered. However, it doesn't matter. The value of this army that Solomon has put together is just too strong at this point, and Solomon will be able to come in here, clean this up, and win the game. Oh, wait, but the moles! Oh my god, the moles. Not even stopping to beat down the wire. Meek! Oh, Meek, or Solomon actually got this gristmill up in time. Oh my god, dude. Meek is looking for it. He doesn't realize that it's this gristmill, I don't think. Yeah, he just now sees it. That was so close for Meek, man. I thought he was about to get it there. That was hilarious. But Meek is gonna have to tap. Really cool game. GG. Damn. I saw that gristmill on my mini-map, but I figured it was still being built. Like, if it's still being built, then it doesn't count for gristmills to keep you in the game. So that was a high-level match. And I do actually want to skip ahead. I know I've got a lot of new viewers here, thanks to Day 9's stream today. So I want to show another game. Solomon actually rebranded himself as Tiki Gray. So I want to hop forward a little bit and show you guys this, because this is going to be a very, very high-level match of Tooth and Tail. So in the bottom, we've got Araloo. And his opponent to the left, Tiki Gray. Araloo is our recent champion, defeating the gentleman last season of the Tooth and Tail Championship in some really great matches. So this is definitely going to be a good one. If you're new and you want to see some high level gameplay, that's what I'm expecting here. Watch, I'm like hyping this one up a lot, and then one of the players is going to die to like a mole rush or something. We'll see. We'll see. All right, how's this map looking? This map is actually pretty rough for Tiki. Tiki does have a natural expansion. And a lot of times you can look at this out the gate and just be like, well, what the hell is Tiki supposed to do, right? I mean, Araloo's got 3 bases right here. You can get into a 4th. I mean, yeah, Tiki can, like, try to take that as a 3rd. But that is kind of part of it. And as Tiki in this match, you've kind of got to realize that, right? You got to say, okay, if we get to that hyper late game, then I'm going to be in trouble. My opponent's just going to have more economy than me. So what I need to do is try to devise some sort of 2-base attack. Like some very, very strong kind of shoulder check style build to get the game knocked out before it gets too late. Now, the one time I will concede to you that it is a little imba is if you don't have any expansion nearby. Like if you don't get a natural base, then yeah, it can be very rough, because the modern meta of Tooth and Tail does depend on having a second base a lot of times. Again, that's not always the case. You can do 1 base all-in strategies. There's a variety of those that work quite nicely, especially in our more macro-oriented meta. This happens to me a lot. Tiki Gray actually beat me down the other day doing this to me. Like, I was kind of expanding, you know, doing my thing. Probably building a couple too many farms. Just kind of anticipating, you know, oh, he's gonna expand, right? Everybody expands. No, man, didn't expand. Came in, wrecked my face. So that can definitely happen. And Tiki, looking for some early blood here, gets a nice pick off, runs away with the lizards. So already getting some decent damage done. And we'll kind of see where we go from here. So far, I like Araloo's position better, but Araloo was already taking some damage, and Tiki is kind of committing to this 1-base style. Oh, losing this chameleon out in the open is very, very rough. This is looking better and better for Tiki. Araloo's invested 180 food into economy. Tiki hasn't invested any at all. He's moving in for the killing blow. Let's see if Araloo can hold off, you know. Losing that chameleon right there was kind of the nail in the coffin for me, right? Like, Araloo invested 180 bucks into this expansion, lost one of the farms, and lost that chameleon out in the open. Now, Tiki did not deliver the killing blow, but I think he killed a Warren there. He got 2 pigs, so that is some serious damage. Picking up that chameleon in the middle of the field was very good as well. But the one thing that Airlu has going for him is he does have the faster economy. So if Airlu can hold this push off better and kind of trade decently, not lose too much, he does have the chameleons to try to help out here. You know, Airlu might be in a decent position to start approaching the mid-game. He's got that second base up and running. Now, the farm count is still even, because Tiki did knock out those 2 farms earlier on. And Tiki is slowly starting to put the economy up. Comes in again for some more kills with these damn, gets 2 more pigs. So that's already 4 pigs. Tiki has knocked out this game. And honestly, I think that's just too much damage. Airlu trying to do some harassment with this chameleon, but he's not aware that Tiki was moving into the base until just now. Now the chameleon is out of position. Tiki is going to rush forward. And I believe this is going to be the killing blow here. Let's see. Does manage to knock out that skunk, but so many warrants have fallen. Tiki with so much aggression this game. Really utilizing these lizards nicely. And I think Airlu, like, wanted to get up to, like, 4 cams. I think once you start getting up to, like, 4 chameleons and a decent amount of squirrels, you start to be okay against the lizard comp. That puts you in kind of a weird position, though, because the enemy skunks do good against your squirrels. Your chameleons do decent against the lizards. So we'll have to just wait and see. As so far, again, this is looking quite nice for Tiki. Now, one thing that was very, very good for Airlu, and this is a little bit of RNG, is that your pigs only last for 5 minutes, right? And you start off with 4 pigs. So the 2 pigs that Airlu lost in the early game were actually starting pigs. So he still has 4 pigs left on the main after that 5-minute mark, if that makes sense. So now the economies are actually kind of even. Airlu's trying to dig himself out of this hole here, trying to get up to that 4 chameleons. But with the snakes, you know, Tiki's kind of covering all of his bases. The snakes do well against the cams. The skunks do well against the squirrels. So overall, I feel like Tiki Gray's got the better army composition. And these snakes are kind of doing their ferret impression here. You know, if you don't... Airlu's stuck between a rock and a hard place, because he knows if he takes this engagement, it's going to go probably kind of poorly. But if he doesn't take the engagement, then Tiki is just going to poison down the gristmill and win that way. But Airlu actually trades. He's going to lose that cam there. But you know, that actually went better for Airlu than I thought it would. Defender's advantage coming into play a little bit there. The gristmill soaking up some shots, but I don't think the gristmill really tanked that much during the actual fight, even though it is low on HP. I think most of that was from the snake poison before the engagement. And this is where the game gets really interesting, where we get into these like low economies. And this is where lizards can be very, very powerful. You know, little moves like this, come in, take out a warren, get out. You know, if you don't have like something like barbed wire, it can be really difficult to deal with those pushes. You got to be very, very on top of where your opponent's commander is at all times. Just a single turret there from Tiki. Maybe a little bit worried about chameleon harassment. Yeah, this turret wouldn't stop the chameleon harassment, but it would, guess, give Tiki a little bit of heads up. Oh, look at this. The snakes being put over to the side. Tiki is doing a 2-pronged attack, which is not something you see very often in Tooth and Tail. Airlu anticipated the lizards would come over from the right, moved his cams over to deal with them. Meanwhile, the snakes actually coming over on the right-hand side while the lizards are on the left. Airlu is just getting pulled apart here. The cams do clean up the snakes, but the damage has been dealt. The snakes knocked out that expansion. The lizards knocked out the warrens, and now Airlu is left with nothing here. He's got 4 cams, which is very strong, especially in scrappy situations like this. But he's just got no economy left. He's got no supporting units. He's gonna try to win this game, but he's starving out in 33 seconds here. I mean, in theory, if Tiki Gray moved out and that gristmill was exposed, these cams could kill it, but Tiki is quite aware of that. He's building up some turrets. He's trying to stay on top of these chameleons. He can reveal the stealth with his commander if he stands still for a second. And nice try there from Araloo. But is gonna have to tap as he was starving out there. Really scrappy game. Very, very aggressive. Okay, let's hop into game number 6 here. Spawning on the right-hand side, we've got Fleur de Lis. And his opponent to the left, Chubby Batman 65. One hell of a handle. I've never seen Chubby Batman 65 before. But it could be a Smurf. We do see that in Tooth and Tail. People will like swap up their names, you know, to confuse their opponents. Fleur is a solid player. He likes to do one base tier 3 strategies, which hold a special place in my heart, because back in the early days of Tooth and Tail, that was kind of something I pioneered. Like, I kind of figured out a cool way to get into like a Fox Rush that was pretty safe and effective off one base. Not something we see nowadays, you know, things like that. I mean, it's very similar with other RTSs, you know. If you're a big fan of StarCraft, you'll hear like Artosis and Tasteless and guys like that talk about it a lot. Where it's like when an RTS is new, aggressive strategies and cheeses really kind of take over, because players haven't figured out how to deal with that yet, right? And I think that's a little bit what happened with the one base tier 3, you know, at least on the competitive scene. Is at first it was pretty strong and pretty viable because people didn't really know how to deal with it. And over time, though, people realized, okay, the right approach is to get economy, you know, build something like a snake or a falcon to counter it later on, you know, when it eventually gets out, and be able to handle it. So let's see what the builds are going to be here. Chubby Batman starting out with a decent amount of lizards, and he's kind of got what we call a little bit of the pile style. This isn't quite pile style here. That would be... Pile is a very strong player. He's actually kind of coming back in the scene lately. He was playing against me on the ladder today. But he was just wrecking people in tournaments for a long time with this build that was just lizards and then like all defense. Or every now and then he'd put in like owl or boar or something like that to scale into the late game with. But generally the idea is you try to get map control with the lizards and then set up this position defensively that is just really, really difficult to break cost effectively once you start getting out the artillery cannon, like several balloons and turrets and stuff. And then what that allows you to do is attack with the lizards and put your opponent in a position where it's like, well, if they try to attack you, then all your defenses take care of it, and you've probably got such a good economy behind all your defense. You know, you gotta. That's why it's really important that Chubby Batman here actually started this off like over in the kind of the middle of the map, because what he's doing now he's locked in all of the expansions for him later on. So he's basically trying to split this map effectively. He's kind of thinking about the game 3 or 4 steps ahead, right? Because this is very, very terrible to do if you do it like back here. Because it's such a large investment, and you know, you're only locking in for yourself like 1 or 2 bases. Your opponent can look at that and say, all right, man, I'll just take a whole lot of bases and then, you know, build into Cam Falcon or whatever else I can. Now, meanwhile, Floor is doing a really smart response to this, and kind of neat that he decided to take this bottom base so aggressively. This is a little bit rough for Floor. Floor's got to figure out a way to dismantle this, and unfortunately, the Tier 3 option here for Floor is the Fox, and the Fox is just not going to do good against this at all. Lizards do pretty nicely against the Fox, and Fox cannot attack the defense at all. So Fox is pretty much out of the question. What Floor is going to have to do to try to win this game is really rely on Tier 2. Get up the Falcons for the DPS, get up the Chameleon for the ground presence, a little bit of tanking, and Chameleons do quite a lot of damage too. But Chameleon Falcon is a comp that scales very nicely. It's a shame Floor does have the Fox and not like a Wolf here. The Wolf buff with all those powerful Tier 2 units is very strong. DPS decides heal rate, it says, so Fox will go good with Pigeons. I think Pigeons just have a flat healing that they perform. Maybe the text is a little bit misleading there. So Fox actually, it's a shame that we see, Fox is my favorite unit. And it's a shame we do see the Fox in this game, but we won't actually see a Fox. Because the point of the Fox is it's a poking unit. I mean, it is... sometimes I get some flack for saying it's not that strong in direct engagements, and that might be incorrect. Like, it does do some okay damage in direct engagements, but the real strength of the Fox is its ability to kind of poke and prod in between the big fights. Pigeons go really nicely with things like boars and badgers, who have very large HP pools, and get right there into the fray. Like, if you have a boar or a badger, your opponent wants to kill it as fast as possible, but they have so much HP, so then you kind of combine that with the pigeon healing, and I mean, they just soak damage for days, you know. Pigeons also do quite nicely with skunks, kind of for similar reasons. You know, skunks have a decent HP pool, so it's nice giving them that extra little bit of healing in the early game, give them that sustainability. Oh my god, Floor. Okay, check this out. Floor's just going Falcons, right? So what Floor can do... Now, this is a little bit risky, because Chubby Batman still does have a little bit of an army. This is such a crazy game. Chubby Batman does have a little bit of an army, right? So he can, like, attack. And Falcons are basically glass cannons, yeah. Trying to engage in, even against, you know, primarily Tier 1. Now, keep in mind, this balloon is attacking onto it. I was kind of hoping what Fleur would try to do is, like, sneak his commander in somehow and, like, go after the base, you know, like, fly the Falcon over the terrain and stuff, but honestly, I don't think he can. Like, his commander is just gonna get dunked on every time he tries to pass this line. That is what's kind of neat about Tooth and Tail as the game goes on and on. Like, scouting is incredibly important in this game. You should always be scouting. But as the game gets later, you know, even if your opponent doesn't have a silly amount of defense like this, you know, it's really hard for the commander to get in. Yeah, and it looks like he's trying to go for this now. Like I said, Chubby Batman's not all in on the defense. He's still actually got a ground army here. And this is a smart tactical play from Floor. He can probably find an angle here to get this mill. Like, yeah, he's going to take some hits, but the Falcon should be able to DPS down that mill. I don't think he can come in from here. I think he's got to come in, like, this way in order to get that. And Chubby Batman actually does not know about that bottom base. He's never actually gotten around to scouting this side of the map, but he's going to find it very, very soon. And Floor is aware of this. That's why he's desperately building this mill. Now, the building mill doesn't count. If this mill gets taken out, Floor is knocked out of the match. But I think this mill will get up in time. It's very close. There it goes. It did get up. Oh, and Chubby Batman doesn't actually... Typically in these base race scenarios, as Batman here is knocking everything out, he'll just, like, take this mill so he doesn't get knocked out of the game. All right, this is the big check. Oh, and Floor's hesitating, man. I think he just tried. I think he's got enough Falcons. Like, if you come in from this angle, you're getting hit by, like, 2, maybe 3 balloons. I think Floor messed that up a little bit. I think he should have just tried to knock out that mill while Chubby Batman's forces were still away. But instead, he's going to macro up on it. He's going to try to get the economy back established. Now, Batman here does not have an economy of their own. Down to just a few farms, but Batman has a lot of assets that he doesn't really need. Like, he starts selling off these turrets. Yeah, even the artillery. The artillery's not going to do anything against the Falcons. And if Chubby Batman can kinda... It's so weird saying Chubby Batman all the time. I remember one of the players back in the day was named Salty Seaman. Weird, that was just like a meme for me. Like, I'll say it, I don't care. He's a sailor, you know? What's so weird about that? Alright, this is not enough to deal with all these falcons. You think I have shame? I don't care, man. Yeah, I think Fleur, I don't know, like, maybe he can still win. I think Chubby is kind of scratching his head, trying to figure out exactly how to dismantle this. But I think there was an opportunity while Batman was coming down here to deal with this base, where these 15 Falcons could have came in. And yeah, they would have suffered some losses, but I think they had the DPS. Alright, we'll fast forward a little bit again. There's a lot of games that I'd like to get to. I probably won't get to them all, because unfortunately I have to work tomorrow, which kind of stinks. We're in crunch mode. My job is really weird. There'll be days where, like, I don't have much to do. Then there'll be times where it's like, we gotta work like 80 hours a week. And unfortunately, this is one of the 80 hours a week times. Destroy bases are permanent? No, you can rebuild the mills. That is a little bit misleading, like it looks like it's permanent, but you can rebuild them. Now, what is permanent is once a farm has been mined out. So a farm will mine out after 5 minutes. It goes fallow, is what it's called. And you see these patches here, these farms. If you took this mill again, you couldn't farm from it anymore. As opposed to like this farm, or this mill rather, where none of these farms have been touched. So they got some nice pastures on there. I don't know, man. Oh, Fleur's actually selling off a lot of this defense. Or I'm sorry, Chubby is. If Fleur can build up enough chameleons for the ground game. Oh, but at the same time, these lizards do have the opportunity to knock Fleur out of the game by going for the gristmill, but I don't think it's going to work. There's just so much DPS here. And that might have been the blunder that loses it here for Chubby Batman. Now he's got nothing left, and Fleur is going to rail through and win the game. The patience paid off in the long run. Very cool. All right, we have a free-for-all here. Let's take a look. All right, spawning on the right-hand side, everybody's favorite memer, we've got Bonk. Up top, Kipo. And to left, Winter Load. Winter's pretty new. I can say that with confidence. I think it's... Is it incorrect to call Kipo new at this point? I feel like Kipo's been around long enough. I hope he's not still considered a new player, because he beats me down every time I fight him. So if he is new, he's really damn good. That's what's fun about Tooth and Tail. Is it's kind of easy to pick up and reach like a certain skill level. But there is a lot of like nuanced depth to it for sure. Right? You know, there is a skill ceiling, of course, but the skill ceiling is pretty high. However, you know, you can become a competent player relatively quickly, kind of like what we saw with Day 9 tonight. You know, just over a few hours of rocking the ladder, he started to become a fairly decent player. You know, if he kept that up for a couple more days, he'd be quite competitive. And that's kind of how it is, especially if you're coming into the game with previous RTS experience. Because although Tooth and Tail is unique in its own ways, I think the game does a really good job of capturing a lot of the high-level concepts of RTS. High-level is a really interesting term. I don't mean to be patronizing, but I actually didn't know what it meant when I started my career and I was at like a big meeting with my buddy who was talking about high-level. High-level is like less detailed, right? Like, give me the high-level rundown of the game. Well, you're trying to build units, get an economy, and attack the opponent, right? Like, that's the high-level summary of an RTS game. So some of these high-level concepts you know, that we're all familiar with from games like StarCraft, you know, micro and macro, tech, unit comps, you know, this counters the other. Oh, if I rush, then I'm, you know, if I do a rush opening, my opponent does a defensive opening, they're ahead. If I do a defensive opening, my opponent does a greedy opening, they're ahead. My opponent, if, you know, and greed loses to aggro, you know, stuff like that. Like, all that is still here in this game, which is pretty cool. So free-for-alls are kind of interesting, and this is one of the more fair free-for-all maps I've seen in a while. I mean, well, as I say that, I mean, Kipo's got 4 bases right here, so it's like, what are you talking about, Delthius? You know, I mean, everybody's kind of spread out. We've got this, like, Triforce composition of the map. It's a shame for red and blue that there's really not much going on here in the southern corner. But it's kind of weird in free-for-all, right? There are definitely people that get aggressive and stuff, and we see that, and that can be viable. But in general, what you want to happen, like if I'm red, if I'm Bonk, I want blue and green to attack each other, right? And leave me the hell alone, so I can just build a big army and be left over, having taken no damage, to deal with whoever wins out of this 1v1, you know, go finish them off. And we see Winter, you know, really investing in a lot of barbed wire here to basically say, yeah, just don't attack me. Like, look, you don't want to attack me, man. You just want to leave me alone. If you want to get if you want to get aggressive, you want to attack somebody else. And we see that kind of thing kind of often. But Kipo, you know, Kipo's in this position where it's like, all right, if Kipo's left alone, then they're just going to have so much money with these 4 mills here. Bonk does have 3 bases. Can't really complain with 3. Winter does have 2, so it's like, all right, Winter can put together a really strong comp, you know, and do like a big punch in the mid-game. Like, 2 bases can amount to surprisingly a lot of money. It always really shocks me, kind of, because it's a little bit hard to explain in a way, because most of the time, right, when we see games, it's like that game with Tiki Gray and Airlu, where people are just slamming each other all game long, right? And the second bases start to farm out, and you never really get these big armies up because they're both constantly trading. So sometimes it can be a little bit shocking on how large of an army you can build on 2 bases when you're left alone. Here's an attack coming in from Bonk here. But decides to pull back for now. And Kipo's got a good comp going on. He's got these chameleons here to start clearing out the barbed wire. He does have the pigeons, and reptiles actually regenerate faster than mammals. It's just kind of a thing for some reason. So Kipo can deal with that quite effectively. Bonk realized that, sold off most of it, just put a little bit there. And what I'm kind of expecting at a Winter here is to build up that big two base. Oh, the Wolf Fox, man. I love the Wolf Fox. Look at this. And poor Kipo is busy dealing with... Oh, Kipo is Stoker. That makes sense, yeah. Sometimes people rebrand. They change up their names. And I get confused because I'm like, wow, it's a new player, but geez, they're really, really good. Yeah, Kipo's been around for quite a while. But the Wolf Fox combo is really cool. Like, the Fox is already a fast unit, but it's kind of got a big blap, you know. It just fires slowly but deals a ton of damage. Enough to, like, one-shot a pig and most tier 1 and a couple of the tier 2. But what Winter can do, I love this just harassment. Like, just with the Wolf Fox. Trying to be careful. That steroid that the Wolf provides only lasts for so long. That's why Winter is kind of dragging the Wolf out with the Fox. But what I'd like to see from Winter is an eventual sell of this defense into a big army dump. But are they maybe waiting too long? The first bases are completely mined out now. You know, we're well past that 5-minute mark. The 5-minute mark is very, very important in Tooth and Tail. because the 5-minute mark is where your first 4 starting farms mine out, and your follow-up farms on your main base are going to be mining out very soon, right? So that's kind of where, if you stayed on like a 1-base strategy, you run out of gas. And although Winter does have the 2nd base, you know, now Winter is kind of back to 1 base, where the other players still have 2, and in Kipo's case, 3. So again, trying to kind of show off as much of the game as I can tonight. I might fast forward through some of these kind of standstill moments. Free-for-all is actually a lot of fun. There is no ranked for like free-for-all or 2v2. Sometimes we'll do events with those types of game modes, but I mean, if you're like interested in Tooth and Tail, but you know, don't want to be super try-hard, just kind of want to play with your buddies every now and then, like 2v2 is a fantastic game mode for that. And it's actually got like its own meta and stuff. Like Kipo's deck here is kind of something I wouldn't be surprised to see in 1v1. I mean, the double tier 3 is a little bit weird, but honestly nowadays it's not unheard of. Oh my god, Winter load. I am on Team Winter here, you guys. 4 Fox, 2 Wolf. This guy's a madman. Let's see. Oh, the Chameleon Trap. But with 4 Foxes here, it's actually not a problem with the steroids. So what he did, we call it a Chameleon Trap there. If it was only 1 Fox, then those chameleons would uncloak and just kill the Fox immediately. Like, the Fox is actually kind of squishy. Oh no, but the Wolf Buff Badgers too. Running those Foxes down. All 4 of the Foxes getting eliminated. Bonk moving in with the Boris here. But the Badgers are crazy units. If you can micro them, if you can keep them alive. The thing is, they rev up, right? So they'll like start attacking slowly, but then they'll rev up, and then they do just tons of damage. And that was I mean, look how fast it was firing, but it was also buffed up by the Wolf. So keep that in mind too. I don't know, man. Winter's starting to push out. Kipo's not in such good shape. Kipo still has this Badger. I don't like the 2 Wolves anymore from Winter. I think he needs to sell 1. The Kipo's in some hurt. Bonk's actually probably in the best position here. It's hard to say. No squirrels at all. And this Fox can kind of prey on the Badger in the Pigeon comp as long as it can keep the distance. These Pigeons are tanking these shots for the Badgers, but I mean, that's cash money. Every time that unit dies, you know, it's 20 food, 20 food, 20 food. And Kipo does not have the economy to really be able to live through that kind of damage. What's a 2v2 meta deck? Typically things with like owls, multiple tier 3, balloons, artillery cannon can be fun. I mean, 2v2 is a lawless wasteland though. Like 2v2 is like the Mad Max of Tooth and Tail, man. Like you can kind of do whatever you want. Especially if you're like coordinating with your buddy. You know, you can do some sick builds. Like, hey man, you take care of like the regular stuff, like tier 1 and skunks. Oh my gosh, what happened to Winter? Oh, did Winter starve out? Yeah, Winter starved out. Okay, I wasn't paying attention. I am a little bit tired. It's a bit late for me. Damn, trying to get into as much damage as they could before they starved out. And they did a good job of coming in and getting some damage done to Bonk. And Bonk is actually going to win this. Kipo is starving out. Cannot build another farm. Oh man, my man Bonk. There we go. Got bonked. And that's what I mean, you know, again, you look at that map and you're like, well, Kipo's got all the bases, right? So shouldn't he win? And no, not all the time. Okay. Let me do just the slightest bit of being a good streamer here. Make this look a little bit cleaner. I was playing earlier, so like all my games auto-saved. Oh, whoops. There we go. Yep, okay. Hey, alright. So where are we at? What are we doing? Game number 8. Let's get into it. Do 2 more, please. Oh, I'm going, man. I am rocking. In the bottom we've got Trinitroglycerina. I can actually kind of say it now. No, it's Trinitroglycerina. I still mess it up. And up top, Dornaki. Dornackle. Alright, who is Trinitroglycerina? I did not. Gosh. Literally TNT. And Dornackle. I've seen Trinitroglycerina quite a bit. They actually submit replays pretty frequently. Trinitroglycerina, dude, it's super easy to say. You know what was getting me for a long time? I'm a big D&D guy. I've been playing for years, and I've been DM of a campaign for about a year and a half now. I could not say prestidigitation for the longest time. Like, every time I played a wizard, too. So, I just always... It was like that meme, you know, where it's like when you're role-playing a character with high intelligence, but you, the player, does not have high intelligence. Oh, gosh. That word kicked my ass for the longest time. Try nitroglycerin. We purposely trained him wrong as a joke. Yeah, exactly. I don't know who Dornackle is. Could be a newer player. Could be somebody under a pseudonym. I'll just call him Trini. Trini is taking this base over the side. A little bit of an unexpected base. Trying to... It's Trini versus Dora. See, that's what I do when I'm tired and have a hard time with words. So, I'm curious if Dora will ever scout this base down here, because they don't have a lot of incentive to, right? Like, they know where the enemy is. And another thing that's interesting about this map is the rush distance is so large, you can actually get away with much more greedy openings than normal. And Dora has not expanded yet. And Dora has a really creative deck here. Snake, Fox, Barbed Wire Turret. The Snakes, I would anticipate, you know, to deal with units that the Fox struggles against. You know, things like other snakes, owls, that sort of thing. But what Dora really wants to do is probably do something like take this mill here and start setting up the defensive position with the Barbed Wire and Turret and try to contain Trini. But what's nice is Trini's already kind of busted out of that, right? And Trini's very sneakily starting to plant their flag over here at like the 8 o'clock position on this map. And unfortunately for Dora, trying to... The thing that's rough about contained styles is they can be map dependent, right? So the best thing Dora could do would be to try to come in here and set up that Barbed Wire Turret like I was talking about, poke the enemy to death with ferrets and snakes. Oh, this is a really important scout for Dora. This is huge. Sees the Fox Warren and is now aware of this back entrance as well. That was the point I was eventually going to make before something important happened in the game where Dora scouted the Fox Warren, and Trini does not realize how vulnerable this Fox Warren is. Now it's going to go down for free, and that is rough stuff. And you might be thinking, like, why would Trini build it over there in the first place? Well, the goal was to just hide it, right? I kind of touched on this earlier, but especially with a unit like the Fox, the best case scenario is you blindside your opponent with the Fox. So Trini took a risk there. It's like, yeah, it's safe if you build the Fox Warren here, but it's basically like guaranteed to get scouted. So Trini was like, alright, there's no reason for them to go over here on the map. I think it might have partially been because Dora hadn't really got the lay of the land for that part of the map yet. And that's one thing that kind of stinks about hidden bases sometimes. Is like, imagine Trini took like this base as a hidden base. It's like, oh, I'm sneaky. There's no reason Dora would ever scout that. Well, what if Dora just hadn't scouted that part of the map yet? You know, and found a little bit of a lull in the game and was like, okay, now I can go over there and get that scouting done. And it's like, oh, look, a free grist mill with a whole bunch of farms on it. But now Dora is going for the Fox here. Trini's got the balloons and the Fox, but that's about it as far as anti-Fox repellent spray. The rest of the units in Trini's deck are actually quite vulnerable to the Fox. The Falcons get one-shotted. The Skunks, you know, die in 2 hits. All the Tier 1 gets one shot. And none of these units really have the capability to chase down a Fox. One thing that we used to see a lot, one of the ways people kind of figured out how to deal with the Fox rush that people like me were doing, was to just like eco up, and then what I call the Zap Brannigan style from Futurama, you know, where you just make a stupid amount of squirrels. Like, you make like 30 squirrels, you know, and you just throw bodies, throw lives at it until eventually, you know, you just keep marching on it and knock it down in the corner. And look at this, the Fox were going down, but the Fox does get out, but it doesn't matter. It immediately goes down. Trini getting that revenge for their own Fox warrior getting taken out earlier on. Good job from Dora here with the micro, trying to spread out the stacks of snake poison on as many units as possible, but the DPS and the sustain here with the Pigeons, with the Falcons, with the Skunks are just too much, and now Trini is starting to bust through. Needs to be careful not to overextend, but with the healing here from the Pigeons, that does help. However, only down to a couple Tier 2. But got some very significant damage done in that engagement. And Trini is looking to re-rally at the balloon. That's kind of like the safe point here, as Dora is moving forward with all the snakes. Dora is going to come in, be able to tag that balloon down, get out of there, but going to lose the snake for the trouble. And let's see if Trini can actually engage here. And Trini kind of needs to sell off a Tier 2 Warren. A lot of times after big engagements, the players can be left with like interesting decision making. Because if you think about it, it makes sense, right? Like, you spent the last few minutes building up these massive armies. Well, once those armies trade, you don't have the income to like actually build all those units again at the same time, right? Like, you've been building those units up over the course of the past several minutes of the game. So what you want to do is like go home, sell off a couple of your Warrens, and just keep enough Warrens to where your income can sustain the production. Because when your units are in the red, I mean, there are exceptions to it, but generally when your units are in the red, yeah, you see Trini kind of doing this now. It's really bad, right? Because that's money that's not doing anything, right? Like right now for Dora, the 6 Snake Warrens, it'd be much better to have 2 Snake Warrens and 4 building snakes, right? Than be sitting on 3 Snake Warrens and you can't build any of them. That kind of stuff is fairly important. All right. So, I think maybe Trini, I don't know. Dora has kind of stabilized, but Trini's got a much stronger army after the dust is settled. Both players getting into 3 bases now. I guess technically 4 for Trini, but the first base is mined out. And Dora realizes this is kind of the spot that they need to deny, right? Where this expansion they're going, this is where all the money is for Trini. So it's like, yeah, you can attack in here. And there's definitely some merit in knocking out Warrens and stuff like that. But it can be the killing blow if you just are able to take that base. So that's why Dora was kind of posturing this way. And I think Dora is in a good position to end this. However, it does depend on the engagements. You know, Dora took a decent engagement last time, all things considered. I think they showed off some really good snake control. You know, since 1 or 2 stacks of poison will kill most units, what you want to do with the snakes is like run around with the enemies and like target units individually, like really rapid fire, right? Like try to get the snakes to apply 1 or 2 stacks to as many different units as possible, rather than sit there and, you know, apply too many stacks of poison to 1 unit, and then it's kind of like wasted DPS. I love these balloons here. This is a nice staging point for an attack. And, you know, Trini is taking this slow, and that's perfectly fine. There's no reason to rush it. You don't want to risk going in, maybe, you know, fumbling the attack over the barbed wire, over the turrets. Maybe the enemy gets some really spot-on snake tags, that sort of thing. So Trini's just trying to expand the lead, you know, win ahead, get more ahead here. But I do want to show off a couple more. It is getting late. I might call it around like 12, maybe 12:30. I'll try to push it for another hour if I can. And the big engagement is happening now. It looks like it's going well for Trini. Dora kind of over-microed the forces there. Like, you don't want to be moving and grooving too much. Like, if you can stutter step, that's kind of fine. You know, like, try to move your units when the attacks are on cooldown anyways. But generally, when you move around too much, you'll be wasting DPS. And Dora was doing that for good reason. They were trying to stay out of the skunk poison as much as they could. But as you can see, Dora is fighting back. You know, these armies basically traded. Trini does have a lot of reinforcements coming in, but Trini got the mission accomplished, right? Knocked out that last farming base from Dora. Now Dora's got nothing left. Is just gonna have to tap out here shortly. That was a fun game. I'm glad Trini got the revenge for their Fox Warren getting sniped by killing the opponent's Fox right when it spawned. That must have felt pretty good. Alright, let's get into match number 9 here. Spawning on the bottom left, we've got Rattan. And up to the north, STJ question mark Relincy. I think it's like a lore name, like a Eastern European name. I don't even know what to call it. ST Gorus. Oh, Gorus has a even more difficult name now. Gotcha. Fox, Snake, Lizard, Falcon, Artie Cam deck. Yeah, I mean, you know. Honestly, there's so many different styles. You know, you kind of... It's hard to explain. I mean, you've got guys like Tosh that play at a high level. There's been other examples. You know, I used to do a couple streamers that would literally just play random, and they would win, like, a good amount of the time. The comp from Gorus here is actually something I would recommend to a beginner. You know, maybe take that barbed wire and replace it for whatever you want. Like, really the first 4 units. Like, if you're a new player, maybe you're here from day 9 playing earlier. And like, hey, this looks cool. I want to give it a shot. These first 4 units are super core, right? Like Squirrel, Lizard, Skunk, Falcon. You can't really go wrong with those. And Rattan trying to put on a little bit of aggression here against Gorus. Gonna come back though. So that's kind of what I would recommend for a beginner, and you'll get the feel for the game and kind of go from there. Squirrel, Lizard, Skunk, Falcon, and then the last 2, man, just experiment with, you know. Like, just kind of have some fun. You know, try out the Fox, try out the Badger. If you run Badger, you typically want Pigeons. I mean, you don't have to, but 9 times out of 10, it is better. Is there anyone who tries to starve the opponents? Yeah, that does happen. Hey, Day 9 in chat, man. What's up, dude? Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate you playing today, man. That was super awesome. But yeah, like Squirrel, Lizard, Falcon, Skunk is really core, and you can kind of play around if you're a beginner with those other 2. Kind of feel out what you like. I personally enjoy playing Fox. Snake is really meta right now. So that and the reason is because it just deals. It's kind of interesting. Like, it's an evolving meta, like any other game, right? Like for a while, Airlu really pioneered a tier 2 heavy style that dominated the scene for quite some time. And snakes, I feel like, became popular because of that. Look at how crazy Goris is getting with the barbed wire here. And, and that's actually really funny. Barbed wire is super annoying, and I feel like Tiki Gray popularized it back under his name of Solomon. But barbed wire only costs 10 food, right? So, I mean, look at it. This is ridiculous. This is too much barbed wire. But you know what? It's fun, right? And barbed wire actually got a slight nerf in the recent patch. It doesn't heal anymore. But the problem is it's really difficult. There's guys like Airlu, I think, is a good example, or Jacoby, or this guy, who kind of look for what I call like the holy grail of tooth and tail decks, right? And I kind of do this too, right? Where I'm, that's kind of how I play a lot of games like this. Like in Magic, I really enjoy playing mid-range styles and stuff like that. Which are like, okay, I want to be prepared for everything, right? Oh, if they go Owl, I've got this unit, or if they go for a boar push, I can do that. And a lot of times you can cover most of your bases, but it's kind of impossible to cover like all the bases. And you know what I mean? So there's going to be holes in it. And that's where series can come into play in the competitive scene that are really fun. You know, we typically, you know, since Tooth and Tail is such short games, I mean, we're getting some really weird games tonight. I'm not commenting on this one very much, but this is not your typical game. Both these players are good players, you know, but we're kind of getting into a Cold War situation. So from an analysis perspective, what I'm starting to think about now is like, what is going to be the late game compositions here? And I kind of like it better for Goris. He's got the boar on the way. He's got boar, skunk, falcon. But at the same time, Ratan's got snake, skunk, falcon, right? The snake can deal with the boar. But this is so many lizards. And Ratan does not know about the tier 3 on the way. If Ratan knew about the tier 3, maybe they wouldn't be going for it. He's memeing in chat saying tier 1's better than boar. But boar is the answer to tier 1. However, like any RTS game, you know, counters only matter for so much. You know, boars are the counter to tier 1, but if you just have a ridiculous amount of tier 1, then you can just overwhelm it. You know what I mean? And Goris is moving in. He's got the boar. But again, this is a lot of tier 1, and most of this army is very, very small. The boar can't quite get back in time, but takes a ton of units down with it. And according to the army graph, I mean, it looked like Ratan lost a lot, and he certainly did there, but the damage wasn't too bad. And we're kind of in a wonky game here. So we'll see how this one ends up going. There's no owls. There's no badger. And those are kind of like the really king of late game that just scale super crazy. Falcons can play that role too. But now Goris has 2 boars here. But Ratan has like 60 tier 1. This is like Tooth and Tail theory crafting at this point, you know? And look at these boars torching down the tier 1. However, there's still a lot of squirrels left over, but with the boar bomb, Goris should be able to knock a lot of them out. Now, what's really interesting here is that the boar is effective against the tier 1, but one of the strengths of tier 1 that is a little not intuitive is just how fast that they build, right? You know, the boar takes 50 seconds to build. The tier 1 just comes out so quickly. It's almost like Zerglings in StarCraft 2, right? Like, you just remax so fast. Okay. What can we do next? If I got all right, we got day 9 here. So I want to show off a little bit of high-level stuff. Let's switch, let's hop down the line a little bit to Mocha versus Tosh. This might be a good one. Tosh is a weird player. Okay, yeah, this looks fun. All right, over on the right-hand side, we've got Mochaccino. And his opponent to left, Big Pimpin' Tosh. Alright, so double tier 3 happening here, but this is actually kind of meta these days. You can pair a tier 3 with the Wolf quite nicely. The Wolf Badger makes more sense to me than the Wolf Owl does, because the Owl kind of benefits from the Wolf less than any other unit as far as tier 3 is concerned. Like, it doesn't make it produce more mice. And a lot of times when players run Wolf, they like to go Cam Falcon, because those units scale quite nicely with the Wolf in the late game, right? Like, the biggest bang for your buck using that Wolf buff is Cam Falcon. Maybe outside of, like, Fox or Badger. So, kind of interesting. Tosh is a big Badger player, and Mocha does like the Owls. And again, this core, like, these are two really good core examples as well. If you look at, like, the first 4 or 5 units from both sides, like, Tosh is running... Oh, hang on, we got a Mole Rush going on here. And this is kind of a dance at the high levels. Like, Tosh knows it's coming, is just going to sell off the Warren. And it's a little bit no harm, no foul. It can be weird because when you sell off that Mole Warren, it can result in the opponent getting a lot of tempo advantage over you. But generally, you know, at the high level, the players know how to handle it. It's just a little dance. But, hey, if you mess it up and they get that farm, I mean, that's huge. But anyways, all right, so if we look at Tosh's deck, this is kind of like the old school Jacoby style. I mean, I'm not sure if he's the one that pioneered it, but I remember Jacoby kind of piloted this composition to a lot of tournament success of, like, Squirrel, Pigeon, Skunk, Badger. And that is just a very core, nice composition. You can kind of take that Squirrel, Pigeon, Skunk, Badger and put on whatever other, geez, sorry, got a little tongue tangled there. What other units you want with it. And Mocha's comp is very similar in that regard, with, like, Squirrel, Mole, Falcon, Skunk, Owl. That's very solid. You know, name your choice for your 6th unit there. And we got some macro openings from both sides, but it's very, very important at this phase of the game to constantly be scouting, right? Like, you don't want to just slam up too quickly on the second base, because if you do that, you can get ran over if your opponent commits to a lot of units early on. So Mocha is being careful, right? Like, he wants to macro up. Both these players are generally macro players in a sense where what they want to do is they want to get that 2-base saturation going. They want to, in a perfect world, it's like, okay, we're both expanding. What I'm going to try to do, I'm scouting you right, and I'm going to try to stay like 1 or 2 farms ahead. If I'm too many farms ahead, I expose myself to getting attacked. And if you're ahead in farms, well, I don't have to explain that one. But what they're also looking for is how many tier 2 Warrens the enemy has. They're trying to hunt down any tier 3 that might be possibly coming out. And Tosh actually did get a nice deep scout here and saw that the Wolf is on the way. And Tosh is not really in a position to try to bust that. Instead, you know, he was setting up some barbed wire. He's like, alright, I don't need that. Mocha's not going to attack me, not at least until the Wolf is out. So Tosh just decides to go for his own Wolf here and take the game from there. So this is actually a fantastic example of a macro game where both players kind of safely, you know, with a lot of scouting, got into full 2-base saturation. Now they're working on their 3rds. And they're starting to get up to these late-game army compositions that they want to go for. And as far as theory crafting goes, the Badger does beat the Owl, right? Like, the Badger's got the DPS to deal with the mice, and then eventually just put the Gatling gun on the Owl itself and knock it out. And that's kind of how the tier 3 Trinity works, you know? Like, the Badger's kind of got an advantage against the Owl, so does the Boar. But the Fox has an advantage against the Badger or the Boar, but the Owl beats down on the Fox. However, none of that is set in stone, right? It's not that straightforward. Falcons, for example, coming out for Mocha here, which he must have scouted the Badger. Or maybe he's just assuming a Badger. I don't think he actually saw the Badger, because that one is a Wolf Warren. No, that is a Badger. Okay. But the Falcons can shoot down the Badgers very, very quickly. They have quite high DPS, especially with the Wolf, especially in high numbers. So this is actually awesome. This is going to turn out to be a really cool game. And what might happen is one person just like, haha, I've got the better army comp than you, right? And then when the big armies slam into each other, they just straight up win. And, I mean, that's not as interesting, right? We see that in, like, StarCraft and stuff like that, too. What's really cool, and where the selling comes into it, is, like, if these armies trade, you know, pretty pound for pound, and then it's like, alright, I've got a lot of decision-making. I gotta go home. I gotta figure out what I want to keep and what I want to sell. Here's the big engagement. Mocha really wants to get these Falcons on top of the Badger, but needs to be careful. If you hard target that Badger too much and overextend your units, they could get shut down. However, Tosh really doesn't have a whole lot that can shoot up outside of the Badgers, so maybe the Falcons are gonna be enough here to push through. But Tosh has some of the best Badger micro in the business. So far is doing a great job, but overextends just slightly, loses the Badger in an instant, but that's okay. Another backup Badger is here just in time. And yeah, this is where things can get fun. You can see the players are selling off a couple Warrens. You gotta decide, like, alright, what am I gonna keep? What am I gonna sell? Mocha's looking for another defense here. These Wolf Buff Falcons doing a lot of damage. The Skunk Gas helping to eliminate all the squirrels on the front, leaving Tosh's forces naked to the air. And Mocha looks like he's starting to get the lead here. That follow-up engagement went very, very well for Mochaccino there. Third bases are underway for both sides. The economies are fairly even. Tosh's economy tanked a little bit because he actually got that second base up and running a bit faster. So his farms are now fallowing out a little bit quicker. And as you can see, Mocha has not even opted for the Owls this game. Like, Mocha is well aware that, you know, the Owls are kind of null and void against this Badger composition. But in my opinion, there's just too many Falcons in the air. Again, Badger control from Tosh is some of the best out there. Is it going to be good enough? It looks like it might be. A lot of these Falcons are starting to fall, and Mocha no longer has that burst damage he needs to take out these Badgers immediately with all the Pigeons healing. Now, Tosh has the opportunity to turn up the heat, to get some aggression on, and actually get some real damage done here. Not to the army of his opponent, but to the infrastructure. Getting some bacon, knocking out some pigs, ravishing the second base. Now, the second base was on its way out anyways, so it's not the biggest deal in the world, but this is what actually hurts, getting on top of the Warrens here. And Mocha's got one final hurrah. He has mustered up enough Falcons to try to do something here. Only one Badger left on the field for Tosh. A lot of the Falcons are going down. The Wolf goes down. This Badger is getting very low. 6 HP, but Tosh's control is just too good. Manages to keep that Badger alive. So many Pigeons here to reinforce, and as you can see, again, Tosh is selling things off. He sold off that Wolf Warren. He's like, okay, I've only got 6 farms. I can only afford so much. He's selling off a couple Pigeons. He is going to keep some squirrels on the ground. He needs a little bit of fodder. As he's kind of bobbing and weaving with his Badger, he wants those squirrels to be able to continue to attack. However, Mocha is surprisingly still in this. After all that damage, Tosh was not able to get to the sweet underbelly of the third base here that's tucked back in the bottom. Yeah, you can have like 12 units healing at once. Someone in chat correct me if that's wrong. 9. Thank you, Satiros. It's based on tiles. It actually used to be unlimited, but they made it to where only like the units in that square grid can heal it. But even with that healing, one of the Badgers drops with that Wolf Buff Falcon, but now Mochaccino is on the retreat, loses the Wolf there. The Badger is continuing to push in, and this might just be the game-winning move. Mocha lost so much there. It's a shame, but you see how fast the Falcons can DPS? It is so insane. Like, those 4 Falcons just doof that Badger down, like, very, very quickly. But again, you know, Tosh's control is really good. Keep in mind, Tosh is not... yeah, the big focus is on that Badger, but you know, Tosh is losing units throughout this. You know, all those all those Pigeons are just kind of like gladly sacrificed. You know, Damn, this is one hell of a game. Alright, we're down in the dumps. This is one of my favorite parts of Tooth and Tail. After we've had these big, huge engagements over and over, both players are kind of running out of steam. Both players have to make some very important decisions on, alright, what units am I going to keep? Mocha had to give up the wolf, you know, can't afford the wolf anymore. He's got this little bit of a force left over, some moles on the front to try to help tank. And the weakness of Mocha's composition here is he doesn't have much front line. That's why he's decided to keep the couple tier 1 that he does still have. Ghost in the chat, what's up, man? Good to see you. But this Badger control from Tosh is just very, very good. But at this, everything lost, Mocha is busting through. Oh my god, Mocha. Such good decision making there. Damn. Like, I would be so tempted to just push in. But Mocha knows, like, alright, you know, Tosh has a bunch of tier 1 Warrens. That means he's going to reproduce an army pretty quickly. I want to be safe. I want to go home. I want to sell off some of these Falcons I can't afford. I want to rebuild what I can. And continue to push in. That was so good from Mocha to pull back there. Like, he could have risked going for it, but now he's in such a better position. Tosh realizes there's no way he gets out another Badger. He's gotten a surprisingly large amount of squirrels out here on the board. Tosh needs to focus fire down these Falcons. These moles doing such a good job of tanking on the front line, and it looks like Mochaccino is going to be the winner of this 12-minute absolute slugfest. What a good match. Very nicely done. Okay. Let's hop into Mishi versus Meek next. Just again to show off some high-level stuff here. Ooh, the stretch versus Kipo would be good too. Actually, most of these are pretty dang good, to be honest. Alright, spawning in the bottom left, we've got Mishi. His opponent to the top right, Meek. Is there any chance you'll play? I would love to play a game with you, Day 9. I will play anytime you would like. Is there a YouTube I can go to for some high-level players? My channel actually has a ton of tournament matches. Yeah, I mean, do you want to play right now? I'm down, man. 100%. Just let me know. I have a lot of tournament VODs on this Twitch. I have a YouTube as well. I try to highlight it. Oh, I'm not going to play. You want to watch me play. Okay. Yeah, if somebody in chat wants to fight me, we could do a show match. Maybe after this replay. Who do we got? Kerpa, do you want to play? Daffy will play. Goris will play. Kerpa versus Delthius, I think, would be fun. Okay. Yeah, after this one, me and Kerpa will do some matches. I think me and Kerpa are pretty well balanced. As far as, like, being... We're not, like, top tier players, but we're pretty good. You know what I mean? But we got Mishi here, and Mishi's kind of one of the old school greats. Mishi's been active since, like, 2017. And we'll get some other people in. Daffy and Goris and anybody else who wants to play in chat. We can do some show matches. But Mishi's been around basically as long as I have, essentially since the early days of Tooth and Tail. Mishi is a force to be reckoned with, has won a ton of championships. He's a doctor in real life, he's got a PhD. And Meek is not really an up-and-comer anymore. I think Meek's been around for like a year or two, and is also a very strong player. And I think one of the strengths of Meek is kind of like a Big Pimpin' Tosh, which is kind of weird comparing it to like the game we just saw last time, where Tosh actually did do like a standard approach, but Meek can really pull out some interesting strategies. which is pretty cool. Like, for example, he's going Badger Fox here. And we got a little bit of lizard aggression in the early game. Mishi has recognized the opponent's got lizards, going for toads. And the Mishi style, I'm sorry, the Meek style here with Badger Fox is kind of interesting. You know, Meek doesn't plan on building both those units, right? It's kind of like an if-else statement that Meek has going on. If the opponent goes for owls, I can get Badger. If the opponent goes for Badger or Boar, I can get Fox, you know, or a very heavy tier 2 style. Mishi's already taking this base over here to the side with some barbed wire. And that's really neat because I don't think Meek is ever going to get over there and scout it. And I say that because Meek has already scouted the map. Now, sometimes what will happen, we got a big engagement coming up here, by the way, but I do want to make this point, is sometimes Mishi will take that sneaky base, right? And let's say Meek actually never scouted the whole map yet. So then he just, like, happens to go over there, just like, okay, you know, I've got a chance to finish scouting the map, let me go ahead and go do that. And it's like, oh, hey, I found a hidden base. But I feel like it's unlikely that Meek scouts that base because he already scouted the map, right? So he has no reason to go over there. Sometimes you will see players do that due diligence and kind of check for that sort of thing every now and then. But this puts Meek in a really weird position because Meek thinks that he's a lot farther ahead than he is, right? Because Meek is looking at this, he's like, okay, I know my opponent's got Lizard Toad, I know they've got Chameleon, I know they're on one base, so I'm going to stay on one base, I'm going to pressure them, try to contain them, and then, like, sneak a farm or two on this base when I can, and be ahead. But in reality, you know, Mishi's balling right now. He's got 3 farms on this expansion. He's ready to roll. So it's fantastic position in my opinion so far for Mishi, but that doesn't mean everything. For one, Meek has the snakes. The snakes are pretty good against chameleons. And Meek is already building up to a strong composition. He's got the Badger Warren on the way. So we'll see how this goes. Mishi going into Owl now. Now, is Mishi going to get this scout? This is an incredibly important scout, and that snake poison is not going to let him get it. Oh, wait, did he already see it? Am I crazy? I might be crazy. Let me see. No, he doesn't know. Meek sold off that tier 1 Warren and put the Badger into place. So, again, the Badger is kind of pretty strong against the Owl. So, Mishi doesn't really have anything that's going to do well against the Badger. What changed in the patch? So the barbed wire no longer heals up. Like most units in structures will just kind of heal over time. Moles have been really oppressive. If you remember day 9, there was one game you played where somebody kind of blindsided you from the side, and you're like, what the hell was that? He attacked you with the moles, as we call them, the engineers. And you can build, the thing about the mole warrens is you can build them anywhere, right? You don't have to build them in your territory. So the mole warren got nerfed to where every time it spawns a mole, it takes some damage and it never heals, as a way to make the moles a little bit more of a commitment, I suppose, because because you can't sell it off for the full refund, for one. For two, they're easier to deal with. Because what ended up happening for a long time on this current patch meta at like high level play is just a lot of stuff with moles. Did Meek scout this base? He finally did. But Mishi is moving out. Mishi is taking this opportunity to clear out what Meek's got over here. So we're in a base race scenario, and I think this favors Mishi. Oh my god, but Meek's sneaky campfire. Dude, if this campfire wins the game. So moles were really dominant in the modern meta because the moles allow you to do timings, right? Because the thing that's interesting about the moles is, for one, they do structure crit, right? So they'll knock out warrens really quickly, and as you've kind of seen today, you start losing your warrens, and you can lose the game very fast. Oh my god, Meek is gonna win. Mishi thinks he's gonna win, but Meek has this campfire. Oh, but this mill got up in time for Mishi. Oh man, does Mishi win now? It depends on this engagement. Everything comes down to this. Can he kill this badger or not? All the lizards are getting eliminated. Meek is holding strong. Yeah, Mishi has an owl, but the owl is just getting deleted by the badger, or eventually it should. Mishi's left with nothing, gonna sell everything off desperately. And this is gonna be a victory for Meek. So anyways, yeah, it's kind of talking about the mole meta, right? And the mole warrens will spawn the mole immediately. So that's like an extra 10 seconds for tempo. So you could realize, you know, oh, my opponent built 2 or 3 too many farms. I'm gonna build a bunch of moles and swing in. Oh wait, what happened? I didn't pay attention. Meek actually lost? Oh, I missed it. Mochaccino in the chat is like, Mishi's so smart. What did Mishi do? Alright, let me use the restroom real quick and get a drink, and then I'll do a couple show matches with some viewers in chat, and let you guys see some decent play. Again, I'm not the best, but I kind of know what I'm doing, so give me like 2 minutes, and we will get into playing some live games. Alright, I'm back, but I have to close the game since I am on a previous patch. So I'll just leave it on the break screen for now. And we'll get on the live patch, if it'll let me. There we go. Let me message Zakurpa. Alright, and we should be kicking back up here shortly. So if you're just joining us, Day 9 is hanging out and requested to see some 1v1 action live here, so I will do my best. Here we go. Oh wait, let me go ahead and hop in the lobby. Oh wait. There we go. Come on, game. You can do it. Alright. Kerpa should be joining me momentarily. There he is. Good man. Does not steal my commander. Popper forever. Alright. So I don't know what Kerpa does. But this is kind of the type. Alright, I'm going to be a little. I don't think this is amazing, but I think this is fun to do. This is kind of my style. This is how I like to play. And I'm experimenting with the toads. The toads just got a buff this patch. They move faster now. If you notice, the road will make you move faster. So toads always move as if they're on road, no matter what. And I'm curious if that's enough to make toads good. A lot of people like to run lizards, so toads are kind of good on that. In general, I'll try a couple different builds. So I've got a gristmill here. That could be a decent spot to try to set up some shelling. Okay, Kerpa is rushing me. I just scouted a Warren, so I'll build a Warren in response to that. And it makes sense, Kerpa is trying to rush me here. This is a short map, but I also want to come in and double check that he's actually rushing, because this is where the mind games of selling stuff can come in. Because he could have just sold that Warren to try to jump ahead on economy. So I don't want to block my squirrel production, but I don't think I will with that. That's why I'm not queuing up another farm here. I want to make sure I get out my 3 squirrels. So Kerpa actually did block a little bit of his squirrel production to get his economy out slightly faster. That's why he got 8 farms before I did. So I think out of that exchange, we went about even. Because I think he did like a 5 farm Warren and I did a 6. So one of my earlier farms is a little bit closer. And I'm just going to continue to scout. What I'm really looking for is an expansion or a tier 2 here. I generally like to expand, so I will just go ahead and grab one. But I want to be careful. I don't want to just build too many farms off the bat. I want to watch and see what he's doing. If he doesn't expand and I start building farms, I could be in really bad shape. Yeah, so he's going for a tier 2. And my deck does not have the best time against certain tier 2. That's one reason I like lizards a lot. Snakes are really popular, and I feel like lizards do okay against them. So I'm just going to build up a general tier 1 force. I might go ahead, after Kerpa leaves, just build like a single farm. I feel like I've kind of got enough. And maybe I can build like a turret right here. But I'm really interested in what tier 2 he's got. Because if it's skunks, I don't want too much tier 1. If it's snakes, I want more tier 1. If it's cams, I want more toads. So I really got to figure out what that tier 2 is that he has. And now Kerpa is scouted. I did put a farm on it. I might go ahead and get ferrets. I mean, I am trying to go for this like ferret siege strategy here. I need another tier 1 Warren. And I'm just kind of chilling. Maybe he's got chameleons? I should see something by now. So he must have chameleons. In that case, I want more toads. Oh yeah, there are the chameleons and they're attacking my mill. Bad timing for me to die. I'm not going to be able to get over here in time, but I might be able to force a reveal. Oh yeah! Okay. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's like right there. I want to kill it so bad. Darn it. Well, I got one. Which actually isn't too bad. Alright, that was some good harassment on his end. But I killed the cam, so that feels pretty good. That was actually really greedy, what I just did there. And I still need to figure out what he's doing. He's got to have a second base by now. There it is. Oh, he's going super hard. This actually might be a good time to attack. I might even be able to set up some even more forward turrets. Like, I feel like I have a good army. Especially if these toads connect on these cams. Oh, he's got 4 cams. Oof. Oof, 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 oof. Yeah, 4 cams is so much damage. That was really bad for me. But I got my ferrets out, which is nice. And I have enough tier 1 to maybe rebuild. Yeah, see, ferrets are not the best units in direct engagements. So, I think he just wins from here. I did not expect him to have 4 ferrets, which is pretty bad because I did see that he had double tier 2, so I should have expected it. He's got 4 farms on the second base. I've only got 3. Yeah, he just wins. Which is a shame because I really had I had some of the tools to deal with what he had going on there. I'm just gonna tap. Yeah, ferrets are bad in general. They are. I agree. I wanted to try that style. I actually messed up. It could have worked, but I got too cocky because I didn't realize he had 4 cams. All right. This is another build that I like. Again, I don't think it's like the best thing in the world, but I really like Wolf Fox. Oh yeah, second base farms is actually like really important. Generally, what you want to do. So you can do what we call an 8-farm double. Most games, which is really safe. You have to scout in the early game and make sure they're not rushing you, like Kerpa rushed me last game. And that's why, like, although I want to scout the map, I want to make sure he's not building moles here. Okay. Although I want to scout the map, I can't right now. Like, I just have to confirm he's going 8 farms. And he's missing farms. Okay, there he goes. Okay, so he's good. So a general build that's, like, pretty decent is going 8-farm double into an expansion. But then from there, it's really dependent on what your opponent's doing. Right? Like, you might wait. If they don't expand at all, you should actually wait before building a farm. But it also depends on the map a lot, too. Like, we have short rush distances here, so that makes it even more risky to expand or to take farms. If it's a really big map with, like, a really awkward rush distance, you can get away with being greedy a lot safer. How's the player base? I won't sugarcoat it. I mean, we're a small community. The best thing to do is get involved with the events, the Pocketwatch Discord. There's a lot of other Discords that have kind of flourished off of that. So, like, what I'm going to do here is I'll just do this 8-farm double. I really don't like this ledge. This ledge is a huge problem. Like, I need to get out here, because Kerpa could very easily just come in and attack like that. I should have scouted, but I just wanted to kind of talk about that ledge a little bit. So we'll have to see what he's going for. Has he expanded yet? He hasn't. And he's probably opened up chameleons. So what I want to do, I think skunks are okay. And my goal is that the skunks will help deal with all of his tier 1. So I can kill the cams of my tier 1. What was I talking about? Yeah, the player base is small, like, I'm not gonna lie, but the events and the tournaments and stuff that we do, we constantly have some kind of event going on or another. And plus, if you're in the Discord, you know, and you just say, like, hey, anybody want to play? Like, somebody will play you. Somebody will hop on ranked. And see. So if you notice, I still haven't taken a farm on the second base. Now I've seen that Kerpa has taken a farm on the second base. And I can go ahead and commit to 2 farms now. I've got both my skunks building. He knows I've got skunks. I'm assuming he's got chameleons. I haven't confirmed that. But again, I really don't like this high ground right here, so I kind of just have to position my units like right here so he just doesn't take it over. If he's going chameleons again, I feel okay. Might actually even just build this up here. I mean, if he gets this position, I'm probably dead anyways. So I can start applying some pressure. And I'm gonna use my skunks to kind of go out front. Oh, he actually went for skunks. Okay, so we have like the same comp here. So the important thing is to keep the skunks alive. I don't really care about the rest. It's really just about the skunks. And the lizards are used to like dive in on the skunks. But I actually killed, actually that was really good for me. I killed one of his farms. I have a 3-farm advantage right now. I don't know. Oh, he went for double skunk. That's actually kind of bad for me, because now I'm behind in tier 2. So I might just, like, hold off for a minute or so and try to get my own double skunk up. But you see, I'm, like, constantly just checking in on the second base. And I do want to scout and make sure he's not, like, getting a tier 3 or anything like that, but I don't think he can right now with how much money he's got and everything else. So double skunk is really strong, and he might actually just bust through me. Yeah, and he does. So that was actually, maybe I built too many farms. Maybe I will get enough to hold this off. But yeah, I was worried about that double skunk. I messed up on my scouting. I didn't realize he was going for double tier 2 until it was too late. I am going to hold him off, but he dealt a lot of damage. So what I'm going to try to do is just follow up swing after my units heal up a little bit. And see if I can win. Now, I think he's only on one farm too, to be fair, unless he just built some. Yeah, his economy's not that great either. And actually just killed a lot of his skunks. So I might be able to come in here and get something done. I actually maybe want to focus my micro on my lizards to try to kill his skunk. Ooh, that mine was really good. Damn, he's got so many lizards. Yeah, he wins. Nicely done. I think it's just real quick. Like, I like to do this sometimes when I lose, just 5 times the replay. I think where I messed up was I went for like 2 additional farms instead of getting the tier 2. Yeah, gameplay around second base is super fragile. That is very correct. Especially when you're against players who understand timing and know when they... So like right now we're pretty mirror. But you know, just like taking a very, very quick at the replay, look at the replay is a great tool. Like right now I think I'm doing good, but if you notice, I never quite got in all the way to see that second tier 2. I should have expected it, to be honest, because it's very meta to go for double skunk right now. So if you notice, he's got the double skunk, but I've got extra farms, right? And that actually might have worked, right? Like, I might have actually been able to get away with that. I think that, yeah, that trade was pretty fair. But the thing is, Kerpa realized that he had a good chance to attack. He also built up a lot of lizards. Honestly, that might have been the bigger problem. Like, I think I just built too many squirrels. I'm not very good at, like, talking and playing, so that's part of it. But, yeah, I overbuilt squirrels as well, which I think was the bigger problem. Because the squirrels die to the skunks pretty easily. Oh, I didn't mean to leave that lobby, Kerpa, sorry. He's probably like, are you done playing? Yeah, so 2 things went wrong there. One thing was I built a couple too many farms, and the second thing was I built too many squirrels. Let me see if Kerpa's coming back. There he is. Alright, after this, I think Rattan wants to play a match. I'll kind of show off this kind of style, I guess. Do I want lizards? Yeah, I think so. Because I feel like I'm vulnerable to snake, and lizards kind of help with that. Like, this is a decent deck. I'm not as good with the Badger as Tosh is, but I can micro it a little bit. If you are new here, I typically stream Friday nights around 6 p.m. EST. Go for a couple hours on replays. I also try to cover events. Alright, is he mole rushing me? I don't think so. Nah, you'd be too far away. Oh, what are you doing, Kerpa? Don't do that. What is going on? Alright, well now I'm gonna 5-farm W. I knew he was doing something. That's why scouting is so important. Like, I knew he was missing money. Yeah, and he knows. So he's gonna build a safety warren. But might be able to be a bastard with 2 lizards here. Nope. Yeah, that was bad. That was bad. I should have just ran. I think they already paid for the other ones? Yeah. So I'm going to queue up the rest of my farms here and then see if I can get something done. This is a little risky. He knows my lizards are missing. Yeah. I might actually go into tier 2, because he's been doing that a lot. He will get that scout. Alright. Yeah, there's his tier 2. So, now I want to see if he's got a second base. I can at this point. Ooh, he's got some toads, some toad magodes. Toads are actually pretty smart here, because he's probably building skunks too, and it's like the skunks deal with the squirrels, toads deal with the lizards, so I can't really overbuild lizards. Oh, he's not at home. This is a nice little victory for me. I don't think I get to mill here, do I? Oh, is he attacking me? I have plenty at home. Wow. That was huge. That might have just been GG right there. I'm floating a lot of food. It's always nice to have a couple lizards so you can run around and look for plays like that. I like to not overcommit to lizards when I do that though. That way, like if I lost all those 6 lizards, like yeah, that would suck, but I wouldn't just lose the game, you know? If I was building nothing but lizards, I might actually... Oh shoot, I wasn't microwaving back the units I thought I was. Alright, that went okay. I kept my tier 2 alive. He's actually got chameleons, so he's got like a lot of anti-lizard here. And he had to reinvest 120 bucks into that. Gristmill there. So I feel like I'm in a good spot to play aggressive. So what I want to do is actually start trying to micro my lizards. I don't want his toads to bust on the lizards. Actually, I might still just want to focus on my skunks here. Oh my gosh. As long as my skunks live, I think it's not horrible, but that went pretty bad. Maybe I want to try to get into double skunk. My economy's not very good right now. Well, if he's got 4 chameleons, double skunk might not be good. Kinda wish I had toads this game. Like, he's still got a lot of tier 1 though. So I need to get the second base going. I need to make sure he's not doing anything crazy, like selling off units for tier 3 or anything like that. Might just wait for this 4th skunk here and really see if I can give it to him. Just trying to peek at that second base. Alright, I don't think he's got anything like a tier 3. How many toads does he have? I think he's only got 3. He's scared. That means I get a pig. Oh, he does have a tier 3! Dang it, man. Kerpa. I knew it, dude. My star sense was tingling. How did he afford it? I must have been too passive. Yeah, I never got that deep scout. So at some point he sold something off and went for the boar. Oops, Uncle Butters. Yep. Alright, actually, I think... Alright, well, one more. We'll do one more. I gotta take at least one off Kerpa. This is getting embarrassing. Alright, Squirrel, Toad, Cam, Falcon. The most powerful comp, I think, would be Squirrel, Lizard. Isn't that it? We'll be here all night if we wait for Del to beat Kerpa. I think this is kind of the strongest comp right now. I'm not very good with my snake micro, though. So I'm kind of going for like the ultra late game comp here. That game was decent. The reason I lost it was Kerpa somehow snuck a tier 3 out from under me, and it was due to my poor scouting. Actually, 2 of these games I would chuck up to poor scouting. Like, that's how important scouting is. And it's funny, I'm saying my scouting was poor, and I'm constantly scouting them, right? But I wasn't getting deep enough scouts. Like, I see his Warren there. I was mainly looking at the second base, but if I saw the tier 3 Warren, I could have either built my own Badger and some Falcons, or I could have swung in. Like, somewhere along the line, I was being a little too passive, and it allowed Kerpa to get that tier 3 up. And then, yeah, like on the second game, I overcommitted to farms, or the game before that, and he went double skunk and I didn't scout it. Right, so I mean, like, that's how important scouting is. And it makes sense, scouting is so important because it's free, right? This actually is kind of a horrible map for me. If I don't have a second base anywhere, that's no good. He hasn't spent his money, but he's probably going to spend it on a tier 2. I need to find an expansion. There's one. So this map is kind of bad for me since that expansion is so far off. I can still make it work by really controlling the middle ground. I don't know why I thought he wouldn't have high ground vision there. I'm tired. It is like 12:30 here. But the rush distance on this map isn't super close. Yeah, there's his tier 2. Alright, so he's going for a Badger, rather. So I can sell the skunk, build a couple snakes, build a lot of lizards. And if I have good micro, I should be able to beat it. But I have to keep scouting, because what if he sold it? Which he did. See, that's why selling stuff is such a big part of this game. So I think I'm still okay with a couple snakes. I don't want to lose too much tempo. I don't think I saw toads. Alright, so I might just have to sack this base. You got a lot of damage done. Losing that snake right there was really bad. So many squirrels. Kerpa! Whooping my ass. Yeah, it's really low being on the low ground. Really rough being on the low ground like that, too. Let me play Rattan. I've played Kerpa a lot. Kerpa's playing really well. Yeah. Kerpa's doing a fantastic job of like, Rattan, you bastard. That was my fault. I should have locked in. Dude, I am getting hammered, you guys. Alright. Oh, Kerpa, or Rattan, you're a gentleman and a scholar, sir. Alright. What am I good with? I feel like I can do this. I know, I am off. I am tired, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm having fun. Like, I don't mind. I'm not being like, oh. Like, I will go for a while. But Kerpa played really, really well. He did a lot of smart things. Alright, I know Rattan likes his Liz boys. Actually, you know what? I need to experiment with toads more. That's what I need to do. Ghost, you should totally play, man. It's super fun. So day 9, so check it out if you're still hanging out, man. I actually really, really liked your approach to learning Tooth and Tail. And I was trying, I apologize if I was talking too much in your stream earlier. I was trying really hard not to backseat you, man, because I totally get it. Like, you just gotta figure it out for yourself a little bit. But I think the way you started really showed your RTS experience, because what you did was you said, okay, I want to be super greedy, right? Like, obviously economy is good, so I want to get a bunch of economy. And then you started realizing over time, like, oh, you can't do this. And sometimes it's hard to learn, like, when you're not playing against, like, really, really good players, you know? Because you could be learning wrong things. But it just felt like, to me, you were, like, you're starting, like, trying to go, like, 2-3 base saturation off the back of, like, just a couple units. And I think that's a really smart way to approach it, because then you start honing it in, right? Like, it's like, okay, the goal is to get up my economy, but how do I do that safely? And it's kind of like that in StarCraft. Like, I played StarCraft poorly as well. It's like Zerg, you know, like Zerg early games, you know, you want to get up to 3 base hatch, but at certain spots, like, all right, I need the Zerglings here, or else the Reapers are just going to come in and kill everything, etc., etc. Does that make sense? Like, so I think that was a good general approach to learning a new RTS game. All right, here comes Rattan. This is actually really good for him because he killed 2 of my Warrens. But if I can hold it down and just like sneak out a farm. Yeah, but that's where the adjustment over time comes in, you know what I mean? Where you're like, oh, okay, now I know. Like, maybe 4 farms is too greedy, but I can get away with 2. If I hold this Warren, that's huge. Alright, the Warren died. This is actually still not horrible for me. Because he is very all-in on tier 1 right now. I don't think he has a second base. I haven't been able to confirm that. But from the numbers of lizards I've seen, alright, now he's flanking me and I'm not in position. I gotta get home, like, right now. Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm the honorable nerd here. You know what I mean? Like, I am just trying... Oh, that bastard. Alright, but the turret actually bought me a lot of time. That turret was really, really good. Like, if I can just hold his aggression for a little while here and just, like, keep sneaking out a farm or 2, I'm in good shape. But the problem is, every time I leave my base, I risk a flank attack. Alright, now he's expanding. And now he might have actually oversold. So I might be able to swing in. I think I have the better army right now. But I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna sell off my turrets. I'm gonna commit some more to my expansion. I don't want to queue the farm because I want my lizard production to continue. And now I think I can attack. So Rattan was very, very aggressive. And then he tried to sell... You remember when you were talking about later on, like, oh, I can be aggressive early, and then I can, like, sell things off and go into eco. Well, this is why that won't really work a lot of times. Where the selling really comes into play is stuff like what Kerpa did to me, right? Where he showed me, like, oh, hey, I'm building a tier 3. So you need snakes. And then he's like, psych, you actually needed, you know, squirrels and skunks, because I'm attacking you right now because I sold it. So I just went from here, I believe. Because now I'm on top of his warrens. And that's it. Go, really? Go defense in tier 3? Huh. So now I know that he's a lizard. He's going with the Chad lizards. But he could also be listening to my stream. I don't think I want to overcommit to the anti-lizard with the cams. I think I like this. So Rattan started off pretty strong there, but he overcommitted. Like, his first attack was really good because he killed my warrens. But his follow-up attacks were less good, and I was kind of like sneaking out a farm, right? Like, that's how you gotta do it. Alright, just sneak out that farm. I'm actually gonna show a variant of a rush build. Actually, I'll just do a straight up rush. So this is what we call a 5-farm double. But he just saw it, right? So I'm gonna go see like how he responds and decide if I'm gonna hard commit to it or not based on that. Oh, what did he 4-farmed me? Dude, he's so dirty. He's a dirty player. Alright, well luckily I decided to rush. I was not really scouting. I'm still not scouting, but I'm not scouting for a good reason. I want these lizards to continue to produce, but I don't want to get too far behind in my economy. So I don't want my farms to block the lizard production, because Rattan is very aggressive. I want to make sure I have all my lizards available. And he's only got one lizard warren, is that correct? Oh. Oh boy. Yeah, he tried to transition into 8 farms. So I've got 2 lizard warrens, so I'm just gonna come in and kill a pig. Actually killed 2 pigs. That was amazing for me. That was like borderline game-winning damage. Yeah, see, he knew it. Hey, see you later, Day 9. Thanks a lot for hanging out, man. Anytime at all, my name's Delthius on Discord. You can hit me up. I've been a fan of you for like 10 years, man. It's an honor, so take care. Alright, I'll play a couple more matches against viewers, and I think I'm gonna call it. I'm really tired. I gotta work in like 8 hours. Yeah, I think this is the last. If anybody else in chat like really wants to play against me, speak now. Maybe I'll do like another one, but I think I'm gonna call it here. Dude, that was so great. I've learned so much about StarCraft from Day 9, and I got to teach him about Tooth and Tail. That is super cool. Dude is rushing me again. Dude, Rattan is barbaric, man. This guy is an absolute barbarian. Why did Day 9 play it now? I don't know. I think he just felt like it. Like, I don't think there's any particular reason. That's a good angle. Maybe my lizard's out in time. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh, Rattan. Winner? No, dude. We'll play one. Yeah, I actually learned about this game from Artosis. I'm a huge StarCraft and Brood War fan. And I was watching ASL, and Artosis talked about the game like a week or 2 after it came out. And I've been a big fan of like casting and that kind of stuff forever, and I wanted to give my hand on it. I can give you the history of Delthius and TnTTV later. But long story short, I learned about it from Artosis. And Artosis and the late great Total Biscuit were actually pretty big proponents of Tooth and Tail in the early days. And then just kind of dropped off, you know. I mean, people are busy. And you know, I genuinely, I mean, I've stuck with Tooth and Tail for a very, very long time. All of us have. It's, I am like dude, it's all of you, like, for real, you know. I mean, you're the ones keeping the game alive. But it's just really cool to see Day 9, like, genuinely enjoy the game and think it's, like, a good game, you know. Even if it is, like, after all this time. I think it adds a lot more validity. Like, we've all been saying forever, like, oh, Tooth and Tail is amazing, and it is a good game. And now, you know, Day 9 has come on and just been like, you know what, it is a good game. I really enjoyed it. And he was interested enough to, like, come in and actually, like, want to, like, that made me happy that he was hanging out. Who else wanted to play? Winner? You want to play some games? We can do a couple. Just do a password winner. What was I saying? Like, what was really cool to me was, like, Day 9 coming in to this stream after he played, and he was like, hey, like, you know, asking questions. Like, to me, that shows that not only did he, like, you know, like the game, but he's interested in continuing to play it, you know, continuing to get good at it. Alright. Winter boy. Let's try out my Old Faithful. My Old Faithful deck that never works. the old losing Faithful. But yeah, so to me, like, it adds a little bit of validity. Like, for one, you don't need validity. Like, I think that's kind of a BS point to be trying to make in the beginning. Like, you don't need anyone else's approval to like the things that you do. You know what? I love the band Disturbed. Like, I'm kind of a music nerd. Like, I know about all the good music, you know, the Porcupine Tree and Opeth and all the underground stuff that's really good in the rock scene, the Sword, you know, stuff like... You know what? In my opinion, Disturbed rules. Disturbed's awesome. I don't care. Like, I don't care what you think about it. I don't need your acceptance. You know what I mean? You can say Disturbed sucks, it's fine, I still like Disturbed. You know what I mean? So that's like, let's say, I guess that's kind of like an anti-point to what I was just making, but in a way, it's like, I don't know. Like, I've always felt Tooth and Tail was a genuinely good game. You know what I mean? And I'm like the old guy, right? All of us, not just me, but, you know, the fact that it's not popular. Like, why is it not popular? You know, it's a great game. It should be popular. People should be playing it, right? Maybe it's not a good game. Maybe we're wrong. And you know, that's kind of where, and to see a guy like Day 9 come in and like actually really enjoy the game, and then be genuinely interested by it enough to like come into this chat and like ask for pointers and stuff, like, to me that just adds some validity to us who have been sticking it out for like 3 years, you know, if that makes sense. Russian Circles kicks ass, man. I've seen Mogwai in concert. I love post-rock. I'm a huge post-rock fan. I saw Godspeed You Black Emperor last year in Vegas. That was freaking awesome. Yeah, dude, I saw Mogwai, Mogwai, Godspeed You Black Emperor, Carcass. Who else was there? Electric Wizard. Electric Wizard was there. I mean, dude, it was such a good festival. Ooh, the barbed wire. The barbed wire Billy. Dude, I used to listen to I used to like fall asleep to Godspeed when I was like a teenager. That was definitely crazy. He's a Wire Willie. So Wire Wayland. Fun fact, my middle name is Wayland. Is that a fun fact? I feel like it's just more of a fact. It's not very fun. So I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, but to me it's just cool. It's like, you know, we weren't wrong. Everyone else was wrong. You know? Like, God. I don't know. Get a fox, I guess. Hey, what's up, Andy? It was just casting some replays. Old Day 9 came in, asked me to do some show matches to give him some pointers. So now I'm just kind of playing with viewers. And I'm hoping, you know, like maybe he'll play it again, or maybe get into the scene. Like that would be super cool. Like, I'm actually really, really happy he came in and seemed like he was like interested in learning more about the game. Yeah, he was talking about that in chat, and he was just like, oh my god, like, when he would see the nuances between me and Kerpa, you know, like, taking, like, 1 or 2 farms on the second base is a big deal, you know? And I think he was starting to understand that. So... what am I going to do against this guy? I think I could stop him from getting another base, but the problem is I can't just sit around forever because I don't know what he has, and my deck composition is kind of fragile, like scaling to the hyper late game. Like the Fox is not going to be as good as the Owls, so I mean if he just has Owls, which is a good move for beginners because Owls are very easy to control, so... I feel like I'm just too scared of... Oh, we went Wolf. Okay. I think I can play against Wolf. Maybe. That's still rough. I need to get a lot of work in with this Fox. I really want to stop him from getting a third base, but I don't have a third base either. Can I take an engagement? I guess we'll find out. The answer is yes. Nice. Alright. So if I can get this base and start building some turrets up here, I think I'm in a good spot. Need to be careful about the Wolf because it buffs up the unit's speed and that'll help him catch my Fox. But maybe I did enough damage at that previous attack to just win the game here. Yep, that's it. Oh, and so many of my tier 2 live with like no HP. Yeah, I felt bad, Andy, in chat. I hope I wasn't stepping over your toes. Like, somebody would ask something, and I was just like so quick to answer, and then like a minute later, you would answer. I'm just happy, man. I'm glad this game finally got some of the attention it deserves, and it has before, you know. But I'm still tickled by it. Like, that was so cool, man, to see 2,000 people Tooth and Tail stream. Yeah, I watched the whole thing, too. Alright, this is my last one. I am exhausted, you guys. Alright, this is the bro build. This is the Bustin' Justin. We're just gonna smash on in there. I don't think he just decided to play. And old Bustin' Justin himself is in chat. Did you hear me talking about Day 9, Justin? Gun-toting Ninja is my real life friend. Hey now, Pocket. Hey now, Andy. Contrary to popular belief, like 4 people like me. Okay. Uh-oh. I am getting rushed upon. This map is large enough where I don't feel like I'm just gonna die. I mean, they are lizards, so they'll get here pretty quick. If he didn't move out at all, I'm actually in a really good spot. Dude, Andy, we had a blast at TwitchCon, man. Dude, me and Andy had a couple beers together. That was so much fun. I actually, I helped out at the booth with Andy at TwitchCon 2017, and I was like helping him talk to people, you know. But I was really excited to go see Day 9 because I was a big fan of him, and I missed the meet and greet, right? Like, I don't know why, I forget, like, I think I was, like, wrapped up, like, talking to a lot of people at the booth, or I just lost track of time or whatever, but my wife, Casey, got to meet him, and I missed the meet and greet, and I was so disappointed in it, right? Because he had, like, a scheduled thing, where it's like, come meet Day 9 and talk to him for a couple minutes, you know? And I missed it. And then there was, like, this other event, right, where he was, you know, it was him, it was Total Biscuit, too. And DJ Wheat, and they were doing like social board game type things, like Cards Against Humanity type things, but not quite that, you know what I mean? And afterwards, he was just like hanging out, and I just approached him, you know, and I felt bad because I get it, right? Like he's tired, and that's not when he. But dude, he was like super cool, and I was like, man, I'm sorry, I missed you. I was like helping out at the Tooth and Tail booth, but I just really wanted to come in, say hi for a moment. And he was like the nicest guy to me. Like he actually stopped and took the minute to talk to me, and took a picture of me and stuff. And we talked a little bit about Tooth and Tail, and he gave me like some advice on how to build the community and stuff like that. But I was impressed. Yeah, no time. I'm so busy, and with the Backstreet Boy reunion tour going on for so long. It's difficult, but I might actually be heading out west at some point. I've been working on getting into renewable energy. I just got I passed like an online solar engineering design course, so I got to get back on the. I like my current job's not horrible, but the next step in my career will be renewable energy. So I plan on moving out west. Maybe in 2021. Dude, we're gonna bust. Yeah, I gotta take a test still. Like, I gotta go to a place and take a test. But should be good. And I'm also eligible for my professional engineer license this year. It's like a big thing for engineers. But that is one hell of a test. Like, some really smart engineers that I know like don't even have it just because it is difficult. Hey, see you, Ghost. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap up after this one. I have to work in 8 hours. We got a big set of plans going out soon. Gotta work on the weekend. All right, here's what we're gonna do, chat. We're gonna build some moles. We're gonna wait till we got our skunks here. We're just gonna push. I've been playing like totally blind. I haven't even been scouting. I'm so tired. Alright, he's got some things. A little bit of stuff. Alright, so I think I'm just gonna focus on microing my skunks. Alright guys, this is the bustin' Justin. Let's go. Let's get it. Let's get it, we're busting in there! Can't stop the bust! Maybe you can stop the bust. Alright, we did a lot of damage, but we didn't win. Yeah, I went full bus, man. You shouldn't go full bus. You sell these toads. Alright. I actually don't hate the mines. I mean, we did a lot of damage, I think. Or, I'm sorry, I don't hate the moles. Darn, we almost had him. That high ground was rough for me. And I just ran out. I actually don't have like much that can shoot up, unfortunately. I just ran out of units that could kill the falcons. It was very close to just killing them. So we move out for bus number 2. Once we got that other skunk, what do you guys think? Alright, let's do this. Oh, is that a dead owl? Is that a dead owl, sir? Sir, is your owl dead? We've been trying to reach you about your dead owl. GG, bud. Alright, guys. Thank you, everybody. Big shout out in general to the community today. I think we really stepped it up. Day 9, like, didn't have to... It was like instant queues for multiplayer, which looked really good for the scene. So thanks, everybody. I gotta get going. It was a lot of fun. If you're new to the show, again, I typically stream on Friday nights at 6 p.m. EST. You can submit your replays, ToothAndTailTV@gmail.com, and I cast them. I also try to cover events and stuff as well. So take it easy, everybody. I'll see y'all next time.